Today, I'm telling you about the top 5 things that I personally like about Cyprus. You're watching Cyprus Unfiltered, where I tell you real stories about real life here in Cyprus. Now, I always said I wasn't going to do a top 5, top 10 of anything. And I want to just preface this with this isn't the top 10 beaches or whatever. You can find that stuff on Google. This is my opinion of lifestyle here in Cyprus based on somebody that's actually living here. Okay. So first thing I want to talk about, and it's kind of the obvious one, but it's the outdoor lifestyle. A lot of people, when they're looking to come away or move abroad, they want a different lifestyle to that in which they might perhaps have back in the UK. UK is typically raining, it's typically grey. People want to live outside more. So the dream is you move somewhere hot and you get to live outside more. So what really happens? Well, the thing is, you don't kind of plan to be outside anymore. It's a given. It's accepted that you can just go out. You can eat out in the evenings. You can just have an outdoor experience or a barbecue or whatever. In the UK, you always felt like you were boxed in. But in Cyprus, actually, the weather's decent. Like probably 9 months of the year, the weather's decent. You can just go and be outside and you can just expect to be outside. In fact, I remember not long before we moved to Cyprus, it was my son's birthday. And I remember it was his last birthday. We were having a party in the house. His friends were coming over. And bear in mind, his birthday's in the summer. We're setting up all the cushions. And I just remember putting the cushions out. And probably about 40 minutes later, it starts to rain. Oh, God, here we go. I was swearing under my breath. My boy goes, Daddy, what's the matter? And I went, this is why we're moving to Cyprus. Because like literally you couldn't even predict the weather on the day. Started out sunny, then it rained, then the sun came back out. So by being in Cyprus, you're not boxed in like you're in the UK. And the thing is, you're not sitting there constantly worrying about the rain. Now, yeah, there are times through the spring or through the late winter and through the spring where you're going, you know what? What's the weather going to be like? Of course it is, because it's not always sunny in Cyprus. But the thing is, when 9 months of the year it's nice, you don't have to just try and have a better lifestyle. You just get one. You end up living it. And so you don't have to worry about what the weather's doing anymore, right? As another example of this, yesterday we went on a hike. A few of us we were with the kids, and we ended up covering about 9 kilometers, and according to this watch, did about 17,000 steps. Now, that wouldn't happen in the UK for us, because to go on a hike in the UK would end up going like 2-hour drive. You'd be on a 2-hour drive somewhere, and because Cyprus is so small, by comparison, I mean, if you speak to the locals, it's really funny. If you tell a local person that you're driving to Larnaca, they'll be like, Larnaca, that's a long way away, isn't it? No, not really. It's not even 2-hour drive away. It's not far at all. Locals see the other side of the island as like the other side of the planet. But when you're used to living in the UK and you're used to driving across Europe and to get to Poland or wherever, 2 hours is nothing. If people watching this in the States, you'll know yourself, 2 hours is nothing. So anyway, to get 2 hours to the other side of the island is not a lot. And for us to go hiking, there's loads of trails within a short distance of us, and we could get to a trail within about 40, 50 minutes, and they're the ones that are a little bit further away. And so anyway, if we tried to do this in the UK, we'd have to traveled further, then it would probably rain. And then the kids probably wouldn't want to stay out because it's raining, because they're cold, and they just want to stay in on their phones and everything else. But here, because the sun was out, because you were out in nature, the kids were just happy to walk around, to literally do what we used to do when we were kids. You get sticks and you're just playing, and you just enjoy nature. You just enjoy being outside. And the thing is, when you're doing that sort of thing, the kids could be outside all day. Not once were they asking for the phones, not once were they asking for tablets or whatever. It's just they're happy being outside, and you don't have that outside luxury all the time in the UK like you can do here. And the thing is, although the weather's not been great here the last few months, really, probably from about early January onwards. The weather at the moment, although even today it was sunny, then it rained a little bit. We were sat outside today and it was rained a little bit, but it was fine though. It was just like a little bit of spitting here and there. It's warm, and not only that, but it's warm to the point where it's comfortable, and it's actually a perfect time of year for going hiking because it's not too hot. So you can go out, and actually, you know what? It's about 20 degrees. It's lovely, So the first thing I'd say in the top 5 is just being outside, and actually you don't have to force it. It can just happen. That's amazing. And it's something that, is one of the reasons we wanted to come to a country like Cyprus, because we wanted better weather. We wanted better weather. We wanted that better climate. So what else? I've said this in a few videos now, and I said this when my son was on, but I'm talking about freedom here, freedom for kids, because growing up in the UK, for those of you watching this, growing up in the UK, I don't know how old you are actually watching this, but I'm 43. And when I was growing up in the UK, I remember I couldn't wait to come home from school. My mum would throw some food down my neck, and I was out on my bike. I just wanted to be out and playing with my friends until nighttime, till it went dark. And then I'd be grounded because I was out too late because I didn't want to come home because I just wanted to be outside playing all the time. And the thing is, that was fine because we lived in a village. But here, and so it's not here, sorry, in the UK, as we've got older, like where we lived now in Burbage, or where we lived before we moved out here, I wouldn't let my son do that. Even though Burbage itself was okay, I wouldn't let my son go out till 9, 10 o'clock at night playing with his friends and not know where he is and everything else. It just isn't the sort of thing that I'd want to do. And so, even earlier on, I wouldn't want him to be out really without me being around, you see. And I remember having these rules in place where I was only allowed to go a certain place down the road, and my mum would like mark these spots out, and it's like you can go as far as here and you can go as far as here. And that was my parameters where I was allowed to go, or that was my distance. It was basically within sight of the house. And it was this constant fear, even when I was a kid, but there was this like constant fear that something bad was going to happen. And out here in Cyprus, that fear, although something could definitely happen, the fear is a lot less. So kids have a lot more freedom. I give my son way more freedom out here than I would ever give him in the UK. In fact, when our friends come from the UK, they think, well, I swear they think we're neglecting our son now because the amount of freedom that we give him, like they're constantly on edge, like, wow, what's happening? Where are the kids? And so another example of this, we were out for dinner a couple of weeks ago, and our son was out. Basically, we were out in a restaurant. It was a Friday night, and he ended up playing with the kids of the owners of the restaurant. And we know the owners of the restaurant, and that was fine. But he was playing with the kids, and literally, I think at one point we didn't see him for about 40 minutes. And for you listening to this in the UK, you might think, "Oh, that's terrible, Mark. You're a bad dad." But the thing is, it's normal out here, and the freedom that the kids have compared to what they'd have back in the UK, he doesn't appreciate it yet, but you start to relax into that way of life. And I absolutely love it because, even today, in fact, here's another example. This is a live example today. I was out with a friend, we're at a soft play, and literally we've got two kids. We've got my son, he's 8, and his son, a little bit older. And literally they wanted some drinks. And so was one occasion he gives the son the card, and his son goes and pays with the card, and it's just safe. Like, you're not worried that he's going to get attacked by another kid in the playground or whatever. He's not going to get attacked by another kid and have the card stolen. We're just not worried about those sorts of things. Could it happen? Yeah, it could. Will it likely happen? Probably not. Okay, so this is the thing: when your kids are coming out here, there's a lot less kind of babysitting them. There's a lot less trying to cover them in cotton wool, and are they going to get this and are they going to do that? It's just more freedom for them. So I absolutely love that, and I love that for my son because it gives him a chance to go and explore. It gives him a chance to go and be a kid again and not just be cooped up inside, scrolling endlessly on a phone or scrolling endlessly on a tablet or playing on a computer or whatever. He gets to go and be a kid. And I think certainly in the UK, I think a lot of children lose that. You can go out and kids are on tablets and phones, parents are on tablets and phones. And it's just, yeah, you get that everywhere. You still get it out here, but what I'm saying is it's less. And so that freedom that kids have, they can go out and be a kid again and go and explore and find their own way a little bit. Wasn't expecting that, but we have it and I love it. So, third thing, pace of life. A lot of people talk about coming to Cyprus for a slower pace of life. Now, I really like that about Cyprus, not because I want to live a slower pace of life. I'm totally the opposite. I'm on it probably 90% of the time, 95% of the time, to the point where I can't even switch my brain off a lot of the time. It frustrates me because I can't stop thinking about things. And so you might go, well, why do you go somewhere like Cyprus then? Well, the thing is, just because I don't turn my brain off all the time doesn't mean that you can't, and doesn't mean that other people don't. So as an example, you can be working full on and you can be as fast paced as you want to work. And then the moment you want to take a step back, you can literally go out and you could go to a coffee shop, you can go to a restaurant, and the environment around you is slower. And it's not like, imagine living in London. If you've lived in London, if you've been to London, it's not like when you're going to London and everybody's rushing and, you can't even talk to people on the tube because they think you're weird if you try and have a chat with them because everybody's trying to get somewhere. Everybody's trying to do something. you can still work hard here and you can still work fast paced here if you want. If you're working remotely, especially if you're working with the locals, maybe not so much. But if you're working and you want to work fast paced, you can absolutely do that out here. But then when you want to slow down, you absolutely can. And everybody else is calm around you. You can choose your pace. And you haven't got this constant pressure to be on all the time, because you can be on as much as you want to be on. And then when you want to turn off, you can turn off. So, fourth thing, social life. Social life and people. I know when people move abroad, a lot of people think, how am I going to make friends? How am I going to be able to make friends? And that is a concern for people, especially if you're introverted. And what I'm finding out here is that because you meet more like minded people, you tend to click with people quicker than you would perhaps back home, because you're meeting people almost out of preference rather than a victim of circumstance. The friends that you have right now are a result of somewhere that you've worked, maybe somewhere that you live, maybe people that you've grown up with. But it's just they are as a result of circumstantial friendships because of whatever those reasons are. Now, you could argue that when you come out to Cyprus, that's also a similar circumstance. Well, it is. But the thing is, when you come somewhere like Cyprus and then you wipe the slate clean and you have no friends because you don't know anybody out here, well, then all of a sudden you get to choose who you want in your life. And that might sound very kind of callous in a way, but it's not. Is you get to choose who you want to spend your time with. And time is the most precious resource you've got. You can always earn more money. You can always do more things, but you can't buy more time. So when you get your head around that and you start then meeting new people, you meeting people on your terms, and don't get me wrong, they're doing exactly the same. It's like, you spend time with the people that you want to spend time with. And likewise, if you don't want to spend time with people, they don't want to spend time with you, then you just won't end up meeting up. But the people that you do want to spend time with and the people that you click with, you end up having more kind of open friendships. And it's really interesting, because what happens then is that the social interactions just happen and it's more natural, and you end up going out more. You end up having more barbecues, you end up eating more, so like, in terms of social gatherings, and you just end up doing more things with more people. And it's really, really nice. Whereas, like even kids, right? So the kids finish school, and here the schools will finish earlier. So they'll finish maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon if you're a younger child. So like my son finishes he finishes at 1:05, such a weird time, but he finishes at 1:05. Don't know what that is. That's like the clock, 1:05. That's 1 o'clock. That's 1:05. Anyway, so he finishes at 1:05 and he's got the rest of the day. Now, if you're a bit older, they might finish at 2 o'clock. But fundamentally, if he's finishing at 1 o'clock, then all of a sudden you've got predominantly the mums picking them up from school. And then you've got the kids with quite a bit of time. And so quite often they'll go out and they'll go to the water park, or they'll do something after school, maybe go on a play date or whatever. You just go and do stuff. So the kids have more social time. Like we have more play dates here in Cyprus that makes me sound weird, doesn't it? My son has more play dates out here in Cyprus than he ever did in the UK. Because in the UK, he would meet the friends that we kind of grew up with, again, the people that we knew that we were close with. But just general children from school, he didn't really socialize with them, because the parents all go off and do their own things and everybody gets wrapped up in their life. And out here it's just nice. You can have a group of people all go to the water park. So the social life for kids is pretty good if that's the sort of thing that they're into, and you don't mind the kids socializing with the school kids. But the friends as well, like I say, it's just, it can start simple. So we've had it a few times where we'll have somebody will drop us a message. Oh, what are you up to tomorrow? And it could be a Saturday. What are you doing on Saturday? I've got any plans? What are you up to? Nothing. Let's meet up. Okay, cool. Fancy a beach walk? So then we'll go down to the Lighthouse Beach or something like that. And the Lighthouse Beach here in Paphos is a lovely walk. You can park up and you can walk all the way down to the harbour. And then you end up walking down to the harbour, and then that walk turns into a walk and lunch, and then it turns into ice cream, and then you're walking back. And before you know it, that simple what you're up to on Saturday is turned into a full evening out, and it's completely unplanned. It's just, you just do it. It's just a spontaneous kind of interaction. And that kind of brings me on to the fifth thing that I really like out here, is that life is generally more unplanned. Now, I like that. In the UK, even though we lived near our friends, because everybody is in such a regime or a routine, because kids were young and everything else, and people with kids will understand this. If you don't have kids, maybe less so. But if people with kids and people who have had young kids, you stop turning up at people's houses. You stop just knocking on the door. Like it's almost like the way life has gone is it's almost rude to even call somebody on the phone. Like, everybody's got phones, right? But at what point did it stop becoming, or what point did it start becoming rude to phone somebody first? Now it feels like you have to message them. Hey, free for a call? Yeah, I'm free for a call. Cool. Then you just like, what happened to just calling people? If they're not free, they won't answer the phone. But the point is in the UK, whenever we were going to meet up with friends or whatever, anyway, it was kind of really planned, and it was regimented, and that the kids had to do this at this time, and you had to be in bed by this time, and school, and all these clubs, and kind of like the whole week was just like regimented things. Now, don't get me wrong, my boy's got clubs that he goes to, and he's got school times and everything else. But for whatever reason, life out here is just, it feels less rigid. And it's really hard to explain until you start living out here, but it feels less rigid because people just go with the flow. That whole kind of siga, slowly. It is a way of life. People just go with the flow. So you end up with less structured meetups, less regimented routines, and you don't have to plan and schedule everything. You can just do what you feel like doing. And if you can just pick up the phone to somebody and you go, actually, fancy doing this? And most of the time people will say, yes, oh yeah, let's do it. And you end up going out more, and you don't really plan it, or you plan it really with really short notice. Whereas in the UK, it always felt like, oh no, but you need to plan this stuff in, and you'd know like weeks in advance, or it just, the unplanned nature of visits out here, of socializing out here, the flexibility that comes with it. Everybody's kind of in this mindset of, you just kind of go with the flow. You don't need to worry about things. You can just relax. And this is what I say, like, when Cyprus is more relaxed, more chilled, the whole culture, you can go at a slower pace, and you don't have to be planning everything and everything else. And, I'll give you one last example of this. So me and my boy last weekend, we went to Larnaca, and I wanted to give my wife a break, because my wife's doing all the school runs and everything else. And not only that, I wanted to spend some time with just me and him, just have some daddy and son time. So we went to Larnaca. And for those of you that don't know, that's on the opposite side of the island to where we are in Paphos. It's on the east side, or is heading towards the east side anyway. You go past Limassol. And anyway, we went there to a point where we didn't really have a plan. Like, we knew we were going to go, we wanted to go to a particular shop in a shopping mall. We wanted to go to Decathlon, and that was on the other side of the island. So we knew we were going to go there at some point over the weekend. But other than that, we didn't really have a plan. And we were just spontaneous. And the thing is, it starts to rub off on the kids. Like, kids aren't stressing about, oh, well, we said we were going to do this and said we were going to do this. It was just like, we'll just go with the flow. And it was, what do you fancy doing at the time? What do you feel like doing? And so we ended up going to the cinema. And actually, top tip for anybody that's been to the cinema in Paphos, the one that is in Kings Avenue Mall, in my opinion, it's rubbish. Like, my cinema system at home is infinitely better than what they've got in the cinema, because you can actually feel the explosions when an explosion happens on screen. And so I got really put off the cinema in Cyprus, because I was like, well, there's no point paying cinema money to go and watch a movie when it sounds rubbish. You might have a big screen, but if it sounds crap, what's the point? Anyway, in Larnaca, it was back to being like how I would remember it in the UK. It actually had a decent sound system, and so maybe the one in Paphos was faulty last time I went. But honestly, like, it was just like a normal cinema experience, and it was lovely, and the staff were really friendly, and they're really, really chatty when you walk in. But anyway, so we ended up going to the cinema, and then from there we kind of potted around Larnaca for a bit, and then on the way home we stayed over in a hotel. But on the way home we went to Limassol. Again, no real plan. We just wandered about. What did we want to do? We went to the parks down the seafront, went and got some ice creams, and you just go with the flow. There was no structure, there was no pressure, right? There was no hang up and expectation. And he loved it, because we were outside. Again, you're not tied to your phones, you're not tied to your tablets, and you just go out and you do your thing, and you just be flexible. You don't be rigid. So there you go. There's sort of the 5 things that I really love about Cyprus. They were the things that some of them I was expecting before I came out. Some of them didn't really appreciate until you come out, and you won't appreciate too until you come out. And so if you are thinking of moving out here, just some of the things to bear in mind. And, none of this that I'm talking about really are the sorts of things that people will think about. I mean, yeah, they'll talk about the outdoor lifestyle, and they'll talk about the weather. But most of the time when people think about coming to Cyprus, it's, the beaches. It's, yeah, we're going to go to the beach. And, as you'll have heard in some of my other videos, we don't really do the beach that often. We're not really into the beach. I thought we would be, but you come to an island, you thought we'd be into the beach, but, don't like getting sand everywhere, and would rather just go in the pool anyway. So anyway, that's my top 5 things that I love about Cyprus. Hopefully you found that interesting. We're going to go over to questions in a moment. But before I do that, I'm going to go over to my like and share screen. So look, when I moved to Cyprus, there was nobody really showing what Cyprus was really like, and nobody was really doing this type of content. So I am just trying to document it now for the rest of us. And look, my only ask is that if you are finding this interesting, useful, or entertaining in any way, then please do just give it a like and a share. And if you aren't subscribed already, I think there's still about 55% of the people watching this aren't subscribed. So if you're not subscribed already, then please just give it a subscribe, and then that way, anytime I go live, you'll get to see more of me. That's it. We're going to move over to the Q&A now. I'm going to have a look and see what is in the chat, and we're going to see what is there. What I'm also doing tonight, by the way, I don't know how this looks from your end. I don't know how this looks on the other side of things, but I'm trying a new feature in YouTube, and it's dual streaming. So it's dual streaming to the shorts, and it's dual streaming to this now. So if you're watching me on the TV like normal, I know a few of you watch me on TV, then you'll see it as normal, but it should now be streaming to the YouTube Shorts. And I'm going to be trying some stuff with this in the coming weeks, and I'm trying to get some new functionality released. But at the moment, I don't have some of the features that YouTube have on there, and I'm trying to get them released. But anyway, we'll see how that comes. But let's jump over to the chat. So we've got Railway History UK. Good evening, Mark. Good evening, Stephen. How are we doing? Hopefully you are well. Mike Cummings. Evening, Mark. Evening, Mike as well. Evening, Joanne, if you're watching. Hi, Mark. Aniela. That's my mother-in-law. Jesh. I swear she's like my biggest fan. Well, that and my wife. My wife's in the other room watching. Son's asleep tonight. And my father-in-law as well. Jesh, that's all. We've got, so Chris, independence. Yeah, exactly. Assuming that's in reference to children having, the freedom. And you're right, independence is an interesting one. I can get the independence like that in the UK for sure. And, he gets to do things here that he'd never get to do. In fact, I told a story a couple of weeks ago where I told it a couple of weeks ago. The story was from about 5 or 6 weeks ago, maybe more. But we were out anyway at a restaurant, and my boy wanted to go and get something out of the car. And we were in the restaurant, and the car was across the road, and it was parked up on the other side, and I could kind of see the car in the distance. But anyway, I just gave him the keys. 8 years old, took the car keys, went across the road. When he got his thing out, locked the car up, came back. First of all, in the UK, I would never do that. Secondly, I never had that amount of freedom when I was a kid. And it gives them that next level of independence. You get that level of responsibility as well that you don't necessarily get back in the UK. So yeah, independence is a good one. Thanks, Chris. Cliffy, XOXOXOXOXO. Evening, Mark. Evening, Cliffy. XOXOXOXOXO. Chris, again, I still do things fast, quick as possible. Yeah, because Chris, if I'm not mistaken, you're either in the UK or you've moved from the UK now. You lived in the UK for a long time, right? And I'm the same. I'm not going to lie if I said that things moving at a slow pace doesn't frustrate me sometimes. When you are somebody that's running around at 100 miles an hour all the time, and then you stop, you come out of it, and you're just like, come on. You're almost on edge. You want people to hurry up, and come on. Okay. But yeah, no, I get it. But the thing is, and the point I was trying to make is that, you can still choose to run around at 100 miles an hour. And if you've got remote clients, if you're working with people abroad, of course, people pay for speed, right? People pay for speed, and they want you to be fast. But the moment you stop serving those clients, and the moment you just want to slow down, you're not surrounded by people running around at 100 miles an hour. It's not like living in London or even working in London. You're not surrounded by people doing the hustle and bustle. So I love it. Cliffy, Mark, have you joined any expat social groups? Not formally. So when I first moved out to Cyprus, there was a group called Blunchers. And I say there still is a group called Blunchers, run by a guy called Jonas. Really nice guy, really nice group of people. And it is more almost like business expats, people that are meeting up there, kind of business owners and things like that. And so they meet, I think, every week on a Saturday. They used to meet at Meraki Cafe. I don't know if they still do. Haven't seen them posted online for a little while, but maybe Facebook stopped showing me their content now. But anyway, so I used to go to that one. I went to 2 or 3 times, and I met some of the people there, some of the people I kept in touch with. And that's really the only kind of expat group that I've gone to. There are networking groups that I'm interested in personally, business networking groups and things like that out here, and there's stuff going on in Limassol. But generally, on the whole, like expat groups, I haven't really gone to in a little while, because what you'll find is that once you've kind of come out here and you've made friends, or you make friends through clubs, you make friends, if you've got kids. Cliffy, actually, I don't know what your circumstances are, but if you've got younger kids, we find that we made friends through my son's clubs. So, kickboxing and, the stuff with school, so multi-sports that he does and things like that. So we've not really needed to join the clubs in that sense to socialize, but there are quite a few clubs out here. And certainly, there's clubs that I was interested in. There's photography clubs. In fact, I used to do clay pigeon shooting, and I'd do that down at the base, down at the army base, because I was just interested in clay pigeon shooting. And the only reason why I don't do it now is because I've not always got the time, and it's quite often on a Saturday. Well, it's a Wednesday and a Saturday, but I could never make the Wednesday one and the Saturday one. It was to go every week. It was just a bit much because I wanted to spend time with the family. But yeah, I mean, you can go, and these places are all very welcoming. That's the thing. But what I would say is that don't just rely on expat groups, because while there are plenty of expat groups out here, what I would say is if you're looking to meet new people out on the island, then decide or work out what it is that you're interested in and find groups that do that thing. So for instance, I know that there's groups of people that will go and play volleyball on the beach. I know that there's walking groups, there's running groups, there's hiking groups. I mentioned the photography groups. There's lots of groups out there for things that you're interested in. So, don't just kind of pigeonhole yourself looking for expat groups per se, because, while they are good, there are lots of groups. And in fact, just on the subject of groups, something that I'm still looking to do. I haven't really finalized this yet, but when I do, I'll let everybody know. So I'm looking at creating a Cyprus Unfiltered meetup, maybe once a month, just so that people that are regulars, people that are joining these live streams, people that are interested in moving to Cyprus, we can just meet up once a month. There'll be no agenda. It's not like it's a pitch. I'm not selling anything. The point is, people that are coming to the country that don't know anybody, but you can just come and meet people, right? And you can have a chat, and should be relatively like-minded people. If nothing else, you all want to move to the same country and you all want to live in the same place. So you've already got that in common. So then you can use that as a starting point for meeting new people. And who knows, maybe some of the people you meet, you become friends with, and you can share experiences with and whatever. But I just thought if I can do that maybe once a month, maybe it helps people out. Maybe it gives people that, kind of like a bit of a community before they get out here. If people have already been like people that are interacting in my chat on a Sunday night, I've seen quite a few regulars in here now, and people kind of chat between themselves as well. So if we do have a monthly meetup, maybe that'll help people as well. So maybe Cliffy, maybe you can come and join us on a monthly meetup if I do a Cyprus Unfiltered meetup. Be interested to know if anybody, or who of the new people anyway, would be interested in that. If you are, let me know, and I can. Well, I'll definitely be doing something. I've just got to figure out logistics and locations and everything else. But yeah, I want to do it in a way that is inclusive to all, that it isn't a pitch. It's not super formal. I'm not trying to get anything out of this. So yeah, that's something to hopefully look forward to. Philip Shaw. Hi, Mark. Hi, Philip. Good to have you on. We got Priya Lang. Okay, off topic, but flush or not flush toilet paper? How will your new development action? Well, this is a very interesting question. I keep hearing different things. So I will come on to my development in a second, but I'm going to just talk to you about toilet paper. Something I haven't talked about on this channel, I don't think. Toilet paper. Who could have thought toilet paper could be so riveting? For those of you that don't know, you are not supposed to flush toilet paper down the toilets in Cypriot toilets. How many times can you say toilet in one sentence? You're not supposed to flush the toilet paper down the toilets. Now, I always thought that it was because the sewerage and the pipes were too small. I was always told that they were too small for the paper and everything else, and that it would get stuck and blocked. Now, I know people that just flush the toilet paper down normally, and I know people that always put it in the bin. We've got bins next to all of our toilets, and so typically you end up wiping, doing your thing, and you put it in the bin next to the toilet, and it's minging and it's horrible. And that's one of the downsides of living in Cyprus. And the thing is, when you go away from Cyprus, it's quite funny actually, when you go away from Cyprus and you go in a hotel, either in UK or whatever, it starts to feel wrong to flush the paper. You feel naughty, as stupid as that sounds. Like, oh, I can't flush this. So anyway, will our development be the same? Well, actually, no, sorry. I am coming back. I'm not avoiding the question. I'm coming back to this. So part of me heard about the 2-inch toilet whatever it is, the drainage, I think it's like 2 inches. It's supposed to be really small anyway. I don't know how true that is. But then other people have told me that the reason why you're not supposed to flush the toilet paper and everything else is because actually what happens is there aren't always sewers, and so it just gets dumped into the ground. Some houses will have septic tanks, and the septic tanks get pumped every now and again. But other houses, like older houses, it'll just literally release it into the ground under the house. I don't know how true any of that is because I wasn't here when the houses were built. If anybody does know, be interested, put it in the comments, put it in the chat. I'd be interested to hear it. So to come on to our developments are going to pretty much follow the regulations. So at the moment, we're not supposed to flush toilets down. So we'll make sure the drainage is adequate. But what will likely happen is that there's likely to be some sort of septic tank, because typically that's what you have to have. So have some sort of septic tank. There are systems though, and this would end up being an optional extra, but there are systems that effectively like mulch the toilet. I don't know how it works, but it kind of mulches everything, and you put it on each toilet. And when you flush, it kind of does something, and it kind of, I don't know, makes it's like a blender for your poo and the paper, I guess. It sounds disgusting. But anyway, that's another option that you could use. But I know that you're not supposed to have them in every toilet, because if it doesn't work and you can't use the toilet properly, don't know. Fundamentally, we will end up doing what is the Cypriot standard, which will probably be a septic tank for the paper and everything else to be emptied. But fundamentally, it should just go in the bin. Sorry, the septic tank is for the feces, and then the paper should go in the bin. So you shouldn't be putting it into the toilet anyway. So yeah, don't know if that answers the question. Hopefully it does. Right. Simon, Jesh, and I can't read that. Slonechko. Jesh Slonechko. Cześć Simon, cześć Iza, cześć Iza. I don't know what Slonechko means. Either Iza, if you can translate it, or Asher, if you can, that'd be cool. Show me up here on my Polish. My Polish isn't very good, clearly. Cliffy, has it taken a while to get into the Cypriot mindset of slowly? Has it been frustrating? It's a good question. I haven't got into the mindset of slowly. And yes, it's frustrating because as somebody that runs around at 100 miles an hour all the time, like I say, I find it quite difficult to switch off. Like I'm the sort of person that if I went away on a 2-week holiday, I would be frustrated because I can't turn my brain off for any length of time. So I'm always doing something. I'm always thinking about something. I'm always I feel like I'm always on the go. And then when you meet people that aren't, that's fine. It's their culture. And I love that about it, because when you do want to slow down, if you've had a long day, you've had a hard day, you can just relax into it. But do I get into that way of life? I mean, I liked it from day one, pretty much. Like what I did like was how, for those of you that are going to be working remotely, you can come off a Zoom call or a Teams call or whatever. It doesn't matter how high pressured that call is. I'm working with directors in the UK at the moment, working with senior people in businesses. And it doesn't matter what you're doing on a call. When you come off that call and you can go downstairs, you can make a coffee, and you can look out and you can see the sea. That's a feeling you can't have in the UK. And you just do relax into it. Now, all right, not everybody's going to have a sea view, but the point is, it's when you can look out and most of the time it's sunny, even that is making you kind of relax into that way of life. And so most of the time, well, it's interesting because most of the time, it doesn't really affect you either way. You go as fast or as slow as you want to go. But the point I was trying to make is that when you do go out, people are not expecting you to be moving fast. Now, there are some instances that have shocked me quite a lot. So everybody warned me before I came out that Siga was going to be a thing and that you need to go slowly because, that's what Cypriots do. The only time I've really found that to be the case is in the government. So if you're dealing with any kind of government agency or whatever, they do seem to be quite slow. Things take a while. We've submitted planning permission for our property, and that was probably 2 months ago. I've not heard a peep since. It's still going through. It could take 6 months. And then when you've got that, a building permit could take months after that. So everything at that level seems to go quite slow. But when you're dealing with individual businesses and you're dealing with services and things like that, ignoring the delivery, because if you're used to Amazon delivery, you can get stuff delivered the same day, or you can order something at 10 p.m. and it arrives at 8 p.m. the next morning. Service isn't quick like that out here, for sure. But quite often, businesses will just get stuff done. So if you haven't seen my internet video, you know, I went from cold calling a business to having internet installed and working on my house in about 6 hours. Now, that ain't Sega Sega. That is freaking fast. You would never get that in the UK. So there are instances where Sega Sega doesn't even apply. It can be super fast. But then, like I say, you deal with the governments, you deal with those types of agencies, you deal with banks. It's really slow. So yeah, you do have to accept it. And if you don't want to accept it, well, don't come to Cyprus because there are going to be things that frustrate you. But you just roll with it. You roll with the punches. It's just the way it is. I didn't come here to get upset at people going about their normal life at the pace they normally go at. I came out here so that I could slow down if I wanted to, but I can still move at my pace because my clients aren't Cypriot. My clients are predominantly foreigners. So that's fine. Hopefully that answers the question anyway. Philip Shaw, Mark H. I don't know what my question was. Mark H. What was that in relation to? I'm really sorry. I don't know what that means. Oh, I know what it means. I understand the words. Anyway, railway history, UK. Okay, cool. Related to Pierre's question, where is the deficiency in the system that causes the lack of flush issue? Yeah. The property end, the pipe network, or the sewerage farm? Sorry, bit gross, but genuinely curious. No, so me too. Me too. There are like I say, I've heard different stories on this. I've heard what I heard since I was 14 years old, before I even came out here, that it was the pipe sewage system and that they were all too small and that your pipes would get blocked. But then I've since also heard that most houses don't have proper drainage, and therefore drainage isn't really the issue. It's the fact that it all goes into the ground. Again, I don't know what's true because if it all goes into the ground, let's be honest, your feces is natural. Paper, it was grown in the ground to start with. What's the problem? I don't get it. So I'm not sure. Does anybody else know? I'm not sure. Give me 1 second. Excuse me. Right. Yeah, so I can't really help you on that one. I actually don't know either. I'm not sure. I could probably look it up, but the thing is, I get different answers, get conflicting answers. Steve, up for the meat. Fantastic. Good. I'm going to look to put something in. I'm thinking, actually, for those of you that are up for the meat, I'm thinking it's going to be a regular time. And I'm thinking either, well, not either. I'm thinking the first Saturday of the month. Do it on a Saturday because a lot of people that are watching this will be working through the week. So I'm thinking first Saturday of the month, and we link up, and it's kind of all self-funded. We rock up, we can have some drinks. If people want to eat, they can eat. I'll make sure we go to a venue where there's food. If people want to eat, they can eat. People want to drink, they can drink. But we can just all get together. I can get us a table booked each month, and we can all just sit around and have a chat. I think it'd be quite cool. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking anyway. First of the month, I'm just trying to work out venues and everything else. I had a venue in mind actually. My venue in mind was going to be Barracus Lounge because there's a great place for the kids and everything else. But we went to the Barracus Lounge. I don't mind telling you the guys the truth because this is Cyprus Unfiltered, and I'd rather tell you the truth. So I went to Barracus Lounge recently because it's all been refurbished. It looks lovely. Toilets, I mean, they look nice from the outside, but a couple of stories on this one. A lot of toilet talk tonight, isn't there? People watching this for the first time, like, man, this guy it's all toilet humor. Anyway, so we went to the Barracus Lounge, and to be fair, it had only been open a week since it's been refurbished, and it looks lovely from the outside. But the service, not quite sure what happened. Maybe they were too busy, maybe they were understaffed, I don't know. But the service was slow. Now that can happen anywhere, I appreciate. But anyway, I ordered my food, and I'd ordered two it was a crispy chicken fillet burger, where basically it's in breadcrumbs or whatever. And I ordered an extra piece of chicken because I like to pull a piece of chicken out and eat it with the chips. And then you got a burger and you got chicken and chips. Greedy, but this is a separate way. It's nice and lots of food. So I ordered this crispy chicken fillet burger. And when it arrived, I looked at it and I was like, is this a veggie burger? Because it just looked like this pate thing. And the guy goes, "Oh no, it's what do you call it? Minced chicken. Well, it's minced chicken burger." Like, oh, but your menu says it's crispy chicken, as in a fillet, crispy chicken fillet, like a thing like a breast. No, it's a minced chicken burger. Oh, okay. Tried it. pretty minging, to be honest. I didn't really like it that much. It was one of them where you're eating it, but you just it wasn't the best. It was a mincemeat burger, and that's not what I was paying for. It's not what I was expecting. It's a bit like going out for your fillet steak, and then they bring you a mincemeat burger. You're like, well, what is this? It's not what I wanted. Anyway, so ended up having that. Then nobody came and cleared the table. Nobody offered us desserts. And it's like, we'll just go. But in the meantime, we've been to the toilet. This is where the toilet bit comes in again. And again, the toilets, they look amazing. They're done compared to how they used to be. They're really nice now. And my son came out and he goes, don't like those toilets. I was like, what's wrong with them? You can see through the doors. I was like, what do you mean you can see through the doors? And so you go into the toilets and they've got these wooden slats. Now, I'm tall, right? For those of you that have met me, I'm 6'4". I'm a tall guy. So when you're stood up and you're looking down through the slats, I could literally see people stood on the opposite side because you've got like the gents opposite the women. You could see the people outside. They're just looking down. You can see them. And my son was like, yeah, you can see through. And for him, he's like half the height of me, but he's like, yeah, you can see through the doors. And he's like, what if somebody comes and looks up? And I was like, you know what? It's a valid point. I just thought it was a bit weird. So anyway, I was contemplating the Barracus Lounge for the meetup. There is a point I was telling you the story. I was contemplating the Barracus Lounge for our meetup because there's a kids' playground there. It's on the sea. It's very picturesque. It's lovely. But based on that experience, I think we're going to go there. We're going to find somewhere else. So leave it with me. I'm trying to figure it out. But I'm glad people are up for the meetup. But I'm going to find us a venue that will work. And I'm sure, has the electric cost gone up in Cyprus yet? I heard some have got high bills for the past period. Yeah, so the bills always go up. That's the problem. And what you're possibly catching wind of is the fact that the EAC wiped out a load of people's credit. Now, I don't know the full ins and outs of this, and I'm not going to proclaim to, but from what I do understand, people that signed up to the solar panels and I think it was you got net meter, sorry, net billing, and what's the other one called? You've got net billing and I forgot what it's called. I forgot what it's called, but anyway, there's two types of billing. And when people signed the contracts like 3 years ago, there was a roll-off period that I understood to be that I understand anyway. And basically, it said that if you haven't used your credit within a certain time frame, then that credit could be wiped out. Now, that's been happening since January, I think it was January, February time. People's credit's been getting wiped out, and stuff that they'd accrued has been getting wiped out. And there's lots of people that either, I don't know if they didn't read their contracts. Like I say, I haven't experienced this firsthand because my rented house, all of this is in the landlord's name. My electric hasn't increased over the last, I don't know, 6 months even. And I'm going with this. Yeah, so my electric hasn't increased, but for people that have owned their own systems, they are in a situation where they've had their credit wiped out. So then, yeah, the bills could potentially go up because if you're expecting to have a load of credit and you're using that credit and now all of a sudden that's gone, well, the moment you're not able to use sun because the sun's gone down or it's a cloudy day or whatever, people will be expecting to use that credit. Now they can't. Now they get billed for it. So in essence, you could argue that some of the bills have gone up. Now I will, if people are interested, when my next bill comes out, I will be able to tell you the kilowatt per hour on this bill versus the one from last time. Because what I do is I can track it and tell you exactly how much per kilowatt hour you're spending and everything else. But yeah, the electricity has definitely gone up in the last 12 months, but then it's going up everywhere. So yeah, it's a bit of a vague answer to a question, but I mean, yeah, bills are going up, unfortunately. UK Landlord Network. That's Johnny, right? If I remember rightly, I think that's your username on here. Evening, Mark. Looking by the tinted shade of colour you are, I am guessing the weather is picking up. What are you trying to say? Yeah, it is picking up. And annoyingly, so yesterday when we went out for this hike, it was lovely in the morning because it was cloudy and it was about 20 degrees, but it was cloudy, it was nice. And I went out and it wasn't until we got to the top of the hill, we then started coming back. And on the way back down, the sun came out and I didn't put cream on because I'm British and I'm stupid. So anyway, my wife was telling me to bring a hat. I didn't bring a hat. This is the result. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Not conscious about it at all. Right. So Johnny, back on the 12th for a week. If you're around for a brew and a natter, looking at schools I know late in process. I am sure we will get sorted. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Back on the 12th, as in 12th of May, I'm guessing. But yeah, let's do it. Let's link up. More than happy to link up. It'd be really cool. If we can make diaries align, let's do it. It'd be really cool. Uh, Andy Hawkins, the channel is useful. Finally got my car washed thanks to you showing how it's done. Really? Well, I'm glad somebody found that useful. I mean, I did it because I find it interesting. I like driving. I'd make a driving channel if I thought people would watch it. But to be honest, I look at the stats of what you guys are actually interested in, and all my driving videos, nobody really seems to care. Like, what I was hoping for was like loads of engagement on the driving, and then I'd just do loads of driving content, but nobody seems bothered about it. Like, fine, fair enough. The audience has spoken, so I can't do it. But I'm glad you found it useful anyway, so that's cool. Interestingly, so actually, I don't know if Lee and Lou are watching tonight. I've not seen them on. So when they were over, we went out, and this is going to sound really stupid. I showed them how to fill the car up when you don't have the petrol station attendant there. So for those of you that have seen my first driving video, I talked about how when you drive up to a petrol station, you have the people that work there, and they are employed to fill your car up. And they'll come over to your car and they'll ask you how much you want, or do you want it filling up or whatever. And then they fill the car up. And while they're filling the car up, they click the thing on because it's automatic. They pull the thing and they push this little lever back at the back. And I tell you what, once you get used to that in Cyprus, then you go back to the UK and frigging health and safety kicks in and you can't automatically fill your car up, which I'll be honest, when it's cold in the UK, the last thing you want is to be holding your hand there. If you haven't got gloves on, you want to be able to pull it, flick it back, put your hands in your pockets and just wait. So anyway, you can do that here. You can't do it in the UK. So while they do that here, they then run around and they'll wash all your windows. And it's a really nice service. But the problem is, I feel guilty. And I don't like feeling guilty. I like to live a happy life and I like to sleep at night. And so when these guys have gone the extra mile and they've done all of that, I'm thinking, oh, now I need to tip them. And it's not that I don't want to tip them, it's that more often than not, I can't tip them because I very rarely carry cash. I've started to carry a little bit more cash these days, but I very rarely carry cash. I just do everything on card or pay it on my watch. So they do all of this, and I'm like, oh man, now I feel really tight, and I feel like I'm being judged for not giving them a tip. And I'm like, I can't because I haven't got anything on me. So anyway, I try and beat them. Like I will, like literally, if you've got a petrol station full of people, I'll pull into the petrol station. And the game I like to play is if I will always kind of go to the farthest pump away to where these people are. And I'll get out of my car really quick, put the pump in, and I'll do it myself. And then when they come over, and then I've got it. And I'll like make them unemployed. But I'm like, no, I've got it. It's all good. And I feel better about myself then. But these guys are actually employed to take your money, not take your money, to fill your car up. They're employed by the petrol station, and they're not working on tips. They're paid by the hour. And it's actually, when you get to know it, it's a really nice service because when it is hot in the summer and you want to stay in your air-conditioned car, granted, you've got to turn the engine off, but it's, you want to sit in your car while they're filling it up. I've seen people literally sit in their car. The guy will fill it up, or the lady will fill it up, and they'll wind the window down about 2 inches. And I've seen them put a note through the window. It looks like a cigarette, doesn't it? Put a note through the window. And then the guy will take the money, or the lady will take the money, they'll go into the petrol station, and then they'll pay, and they bring the change back out and they'll give the guy the change back through the window. For me, that baffles me because I just find that lazy. If I can, literally, don't get me wrong, I'm all for paying somebody to do something. I'm all for saving my time and all the rest of it. But if I'm literally sat there in a car doing nothing, it's not like I can do anything extra with my time during that time. I'd rather just get out and go and pay somebody. It makes no difference to me whatsoever. But anyway, that's how it works. Now, I'm going somewhere with this. When you go to a petrol station at night and there is nobody there, and this guy isn't there, or the lady, when they're not there, you end up having to pay with your card. Now, you might go, what's the big deal, Mark? Why are you making such a big thing about this? Well, in the UK, if you're paying by card, every petrol pump has a card machine on it, and you swipe the card or whatever, you put your PIN number in, you contactless, whatever it might be. But every petrol pump has that on it. But in Cyprus, what will happen is when you go to a petrol station, there will be a single card machine somewhere in the forecourt, somewhere probably in the middle of all the pumps. And you go to that machine, you then swipe your card, and then you can put it into English and everything else. And then it will ask you how much you want to put in there. And you might say 100 euros. But you don't really know how much it's going to cost to fill your car up. It might only cost 50 euros. If you can cap your card at 150, it might only cost you 120 euros. So you sort of like the first thing you come up against is, well, how do I actually fill the car up? Is it going to bill me for all of that? And you go, no, it's just a limit. It's just holding that limit. So you can fill your car up to 150 euros. So once you've done that, the next thing it then asks you is, where are you filling up? Which petrol pump are you filling up at? And you go, I'm filling up at pump two. You go, press pump two. And then you walk back over to the pump and then you start filling up. That's when it releases the petrol. But for anybody that's never done that, it's a bit alien to them. So I was showing Lee this anyway when he came over. But also, I remember when I was here, I was actually here. I think it was in the trial living, and I remember pulling into a petrol station, and by then I'd figured it out. Nobody told me this; I just figured it out by this point. And I remember another car pulled into a petrol station, and you can tell another red number plate. They're tourists. They're walking around. They're all a bit bewildered. Like, oh, how do I fill my car up? Like, it's like, there's this thing that we've done for years, but you get to a Cypriot petrol station, and all of a sudden it confuses the hell out of people. So anyway, so I went over to them and told them how to do it, and they were like, "Oh, really thankful, really grateful." I don't know what they'd have done, and they'd have figured it out. I'm sure everybody's, they'll figure it out. But anyway, it works differently out here. But I'm glad, coming back to the car wash comment, I'm glad because the car washes work differently out here too. Glad you managed to get your car washed. Yes, up for a meetup as well. I'm really sorry. I keep butchering your name every single week. I butcher your name. I'm gonna have to practice saying your name. And I think you even put your name in the brackets, and I can't remember what it was. I'm really sorry. I apologize. But yeah, for a meetup, that'd be cool. And you can teach me how to say your name in person. Cliffy XOXOXOXO. Both me and hubby. Oh, okay. So Cliff, both me and hubby will can't read. Why can't I read tonight? Both me and hubby will retirees. No, hang on. No, I can read. You can't type in the nicest possible way. Let me try again. Right, both me and hubby will. I'm gonna change the word will for are. Both me and hubby are retirees, so we're looking forward to a very slower pace of life. That makes sense to me. Hopefully that's what you meant. Sounds like that's what you meant. And I'm glad you're looking forward to a slower pace of life, because if you want to live a slower pace of life out here, you can absolutely live a slower pace of life out here. And out of interest, where are you looking to move to? Because that can also dictate how slow your life might be and how slow a pace it might be. Where are you looking to move to, Cliffy? Love to meet up when we eventually get out of there. Cool. Where are you looking to move to, and what are your timescales? When are you looking to move? What preparations have you made so far? Interested to hear. Mike, definitely join the meetup next time we're in Cyprus if dates align. Cool. I'll be glad to have you guys there. Cliffy, sorry to go off topic, but did you use a local estate agent to find your house? We are planning on renting initially when we come over. It's a good question. So I did two things, and I know some of you will have seen this in the housing video that I did, renting versus buying, but don't mind, I'm going to go over it again. It's not off topic. Like I say, the whole point of these sessions is that it's a live Q&A. Ask me anything you want. And if I can answer it, I will. If I can't, I'll tell you I can't. And, I'll do my best to answer your question. So in this instance, what did we do for renting a property? The very first time we came over. So I mentioned Blunchers. I met a guy at Blunchers. He was a German guy. And I kept in touch with him in the year that I was then away from Cyprus before coming back. He put me in touch with a company out here, which offered this service where they would do remote viewings, and they would help you find the ideal house and the ideal location, etc., etc. And for that service, they charged a minimum of £2,000. And that minimum of £2,000 was a minimum on the premise that if your rent was more than £2,000 a month, let's say your rent was £3,000 a month, then they would charge you the first month's rent. So in this case, it'd be £3,000 a month, but it was a minimum of two. And for that, they would then go off and they would do the searching, and they would come back with video viewings, and they would literally walk around, send video recordings of that. And, if you got them live, then you could walk around, you go left a bit, right a bit, and you could do video viewings with them. And, very nice people. And when we got here, they gave us a lot of help, in terms of just kind of like what I'm trying to do for you now for free is sort of like, I would be asking, well, where can I buy this? Where can I buy a shed? Where can I buy these things? Where can I do these things? And they would just be giving me local knowledge. And it was all kind of part of their service, like their service and everything else. But it was £2,000. So that was what I did the first time, because I didn't know anybody here, really. Like I said, I met a couple of people in Blunchers, but I didn't really know anybody, not well enough to kind of want to put trust in people, at that point. So then, after we'd been here, the first landlord and their son tried to screw us over. and they tried to jack the rent by 50%. Now, they ended up going back on that and all the rest of it, and they said, okay, it can just be a 10% increase. Again, I tell the story in my other video, the renting versus buying. But the point is, they tried to jack the rent on me, and I'd already been there a year because it was a 12-month fixed contract. They tried to jack the rent on us, and when they then backed down and said, okay, it'll just be a 10% increase, my view was like, you know what, if you're trying to screw me, that's, I'm done. I people can lie to me once and I just won't trust them again. And if somebody's trying to do the dirty on me, I'll just lose trust. I'm just not interested. I like to try and live my life in a ethical way. And when people aren't ethical with me, then I lose interest. So I'm the sort of person in that instance, I go, right, I'm going to cut my nose to spite my face. And I said, fine, if you want to jack your rent 50%, feel free, but you're not going to get it from me. So then we went literally within the space of about 4 weeks, and the guy was completely shell shocked, but within the space of about 4 weeks, we're packed up, gone. The second house we were finding, I didn't use the company that we used the first time around because I didn't want to spend $2,000. Let's be honest, I didn't need to spend $2,000 because I could do my own research at this point. I already knew people here by that point. I got my own contacts. So the second time round, I got in touch with another agent, and unlike the first guys, the agent, clearly like a traditional agent, would charge the landlord for registering or for listing their property rather than charging me as a tenant to go and rent the property. So my second property didn't cost me anything to find, and presumably the landlord paid a fee. I don't know what the landlord paid, but presumably the landlord paid a fee to this agent. And so I just found it by an agent for us here. And then we met up and saw them in person, and I could go and do the viewings in person. And, it was really easy. So first time was with a company. Second time was just with an agent. And for those of you that are interested, it was actually Paphos Direct. And if you go onto their website is absolutely shocking. And it's like from the 80s or even the early 90s. But the guys running it, lovely, really helpful. I found them super useful. Just, go onto their website. You'll see what I mean. You go onto the website, and not just their website, to be fair, but a lot of Cypriot websites, all the listings are out of date. You don't know what's for rent and what isn't. And this is something to bear in mind, actually, for those of you that are watching this looking to rent. You can find property on Facebook. You can find property on websites. And the websites out here, some of the agents, they will leave properties on there almost like as a lead magnet. So you look at a property from, say, 4 years ago, and you go, wow, that looks amazing. It's super cheap. And you ring them up and they go, no, that one's not available anymore. But then we've got these, other properties that they then try and pitch to you, but they just leave them on. And even to the point where I've seen properties, and I remember this when I was looking myself, you'll see properties that are on, and I remember seeing one property, it was on the market for about $2,000, something like that, 2,000, 2,100. But in the description said 1,500 or something like that. I can't remember the exact figures, but it was like 1,500 euros versus $2,000. And so I remember getting in touch with them going, hey, is this still available? It's like, yeah, it's still available. Okay, cool. What's the price of this one? Because you got two prices. And they looked at it and went, oh, no, that 1,500, that was from like 3 years ago. Like, oh, okay. So it's gone up 25% in 3 years. So anyway, the listings aren't always accurate. They will not always be up to date in terms of what's available and what isn't. But the other thing, and I found this out, I remember looking at a house on Facebook, and there was this one property, and it was listed with 3 agents. This is something to bear in mind. It was listed with 3 agents, and one of them was about 100 euros a month cheaper than the other 2. So I messaged all of them, but I started with the cheap one because why wouldn't you? So I went with the cheaper one, and he was a bit slow coming back to me, but it was like, yeah, it's available. And, but he was really slow coming back to me. Like literally, I was getting a message back from him maybe every 4 or 5 days. And then the other guy there's 2 houses that were the same house, but 2 prices the same. My son's watching this, he'll tell me off. Peace, honestly. The 2 houses that were the same price, I just got in touch with both of them. One of them replied, the other one didn't. The other one never replied to me at all. And I started talking to him, and he was telling me about the property and everything else. And I was like, okay, cool. And I said, is that the best price? Because there's another agent that's got it up for 100 euros less. So is that your best price? What can you go down to? And he was very curious as to who this other agent was. Like, okay, so who's got it at this price, blah, 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 blah. So I sent him the link thinking, I'm going to be able to play one off against the other here and get my price down. And he goes, right, thanks very much. I'm going to report them. I was like, oh, okay. Well, why, And he was the owner of the property. He was like, it's my house. Nobody else is listing it. Like, I'm the only one listing it. So other agents were listing this guy's property. And the idea is they would list the property, they'd get you in, and then be like, oh no, that one's gone, but we'll try and sell you into something else. And it was the owner going, no, these guys shouldn't even, they don't even have my permission. So what you'll get some agents doing, certainly the smaller ones, the websites will be out of date, the websites will be pretty crap. And the listings, they don't always even have permission to list them. They'll just list them. So yeah, anyway, that was a bit of a waffle there, but I can't remember what the original question was now. Where did I get my house from? Yeah, Paphos Direct. Anyway, I like those guys. They were really good. They were really helpful for me. They were super friendly. And yeah, even the after sales service has been good because I had some challenges here and they've been really cool. So yeah, I really like those guys. They were cool. But just like I say, the website is shocking, just like 90% of the websites out here. Just terrible, terrible, terrible. But anyway, there you go. Hopefully that answers the question. Quite a few coming through. I'm going to just find where I was at. Okay, so Johnny, yes, 12th to the 18th of May. Cool. Yeah, we can figure something out. Let's put a date in the diary. We can talk offline. We do talk offline. We can talk offline. That'd be cool. Ferry and Monica, hey guys, good to have you on. Hopefully Oliver's okay as well. He's probably in bed now, I'm guessing. But anyway, hopefully you guys are well. With electricity, don't they offer fixed rates, e.g., fixed for 1 to 2 years, like they do in the UK? No, not that I've seen. So in my first house, it didn't have solar. And you have to sign up with the EAC because the EAC is a national agency, call it a national monopoly. Basically, you cannot buy electricity here unless you're buying it through the EAC or unless you go 100% off grid. So you're tied into the EAC regardless, which means they've got no incentive to give you any preferential rates, any lock-in rates or anything like that. You have to pay what the EAC charges, end of. Now, as a third country national, if you are putting the electricity in your name, a third country national being somebody outside of the EU, so typically most people watching this from the UK, unless you have an EU passport, you're a third country national. When you have to get the electricity in your name, because like me, we're the scum of the earth and we're not trusted, unlike an EU national, we have to pay a €300 deposit. And we have to pay that to the EAC just in case we were to do a runner and not pay part of our bill. If you're from the EU, typically you pay €150 deposits. You pay 50% of what you would normally pay. If you are renting a house with solar, typically the solar is registered in the owner's name, so the landlord's name, and the electricity doesn't get transferred to your name at all. Then it just stays in the landlord's name. And this then can pose a problem if you're trying to get things done for immigration or whatever, because you need utilities and things like that in your name. And therefore you want to try and get the water in your name or a phone bill or something like that. Anyway, back to the electric. So with the electricity, when you are going into the EAC, typically you pay your €300 deposit and that is it. You're literally just paying the normal rates. There is no fixed rate. There's no lock-in period. But not only that, the electricity out here is billed every 2 months. And so what happens is you might get a bill. And for those of you that are interested in what it actually costs, I did a breakdown of heating costs. If you look at my heating video from about February, excuse me, if you look at my heating costs, I did a breakdown of all the bills and I did the bills broken down for a solar powered house versus non-solar powered house and everything else. And like in the summer, as an example, so in the summer of my first house, my electric bill was nearly €900 for 2 months. It was crazy expensive. Now, that may or may not be typical. It depends on your usage. It depends how many rooms you've got. It depends how good the insulation is in your house, all of that kind of stuff. But for us, we were trying to use the air conditioning sparingly. Didn't seem to make much difference. It gave us nearly a €900 bill. There's no lock-in period, and it's every 2 months. You're basically paying your bill 6 times a year. When you leave that, so when we left that house, what the EAC did was from your €300 credit, they literally deducted the bill from that credit as your last bill, and then you got some of it back. So I ended up, because it was like prorated and everything else, they worked out, they paid me about €236 of it back. And I didn't have to pay a deposit on the new house because the new house has got solar. hopefully that's helpful. But yeah, if you've got any other questions on that, give me a shout. But hopefully that helps, Ferry or Monica or whoever asked the question, both of you. uh, John Phil 68 message retracted. Oh, okay. Ferry again, Ferry Monica. Glad to hear the in the moment lifestyle exists in Cyprus, and people don't have to plan to see friends in 3 weeks' time. Monica, yeah, cool. Well, I agree. I agree. It is spontaneous. Now, obviously, it's going to depend who your friends are. It's going to depend on what stage of life they're in as well, But for me, I quite like knowing that, yes, we've got things planned in. Like I know, for instance, that I'm going camping at the end of May. I know that. We booked it in because you have to book things in advance. We were supposed to be going camping this weekend. We didn't book it in advance, and all the huts and things got booked up, so we couldn't go. So there are things that you do need to plan and book in advance. That's fine. But for the most part, it's a social evening. Like literally, you can get a phone call. Who fancies going out tonight? We've got a WhatsApp group, and to be fair, I'm not that active in it because it's a beach group. But I'm in a WhatsApp group with some friends, and it's just a who fancies going to the beach today. It can be a Sunday, Saturday. Who fancies going beach day? And there'll be a few people like, yeah, we'll meet you down there. You just rock up. You just go to the beach. Like I say, I'm not a massive beach person, so I don't always participate in that. But you can get a circle of friends, and you can just who decides you want to go out. You want to go for a walk, go for a walk. You want to go for a bike ride, go for a bike ride. You want to go get something to eat. You can just do it. People just kind of just go with the flow. It's great. Cliffy, think of living in either. I'm thinking of living in either Tala, Mandria, or Gyroscopiu, awaiting my Irish citizenship to come through soon, so hopefully coming over on a yellow slip. Fingers crossed for you. As you say, both have been to Cyprus several times before. Cool. Well, that's interesting. And so you've not asked a question. I'm just waiting. So let me. I would do something here. I'm going to give you some answers to the questions that you didn't ask because it might help you out. So I'm going to go to. Oh, hang on a minute. No, let's make this more interactive. Let's go over here. For those of you watching this on the stories live feed, you're not going to see this full screen now. Not yet, anyway. I'm going to use something. I need to use some YouTube features, and it's not letting me do what I need to do yet. But anyway, you're going to see probably part of the map. You're not going to see the full map, and I'm going to disappear. There we go. Anyway, you're going to see part of it. But for those of you watching on the full screen on the actual YouTube live, you're going to see the full thing. Right. For some reason, it thinks I'm in the UK, which I'm not. So let's go over to Cyprus. Right. So for those of you interested, let me just go to the map view because it's easier to see. So the three areas that Cliffy's just mentioned, we've got Tala, Gyroscopiu, and the other one was Mandria. Yeah, right, cool. So Tala is just here. So let's start with Paphos. Paphos is here. You've got the airport here. For those of you that have been to the waterfront, it is just here on the left where my mouse is. And you've got Tala, a little bit further inland, just here. Then you've got Gyroscopiu, which is actually this here. And that's how you would write it in Greek, with a Y. And so that's Gyroscopiu, and then Mandria is down here on the flight path of the airport. So we know quite a few people that live in Gyroscopiu. We don't know anybody that lives in Mandria, actually, and we live in Tala. So there we go. I'm not saying that is where you should live. I'm just saying that was our analysis. But when we were looking to move somewhere, so we originally lived, when I was talking about Potima, we originally lived in like this group of houses here, just down from here, just down from this dam. And for those of you interested, this is where they are building the new harbour. And this is the new marina, sorry, not the new harbour. The new marina, if it ever comes along, it's going to be here. And yeah, that's happening there. But if we just come further inland, so we've got Tala here, then we've got Gyroscopiu over here. I mean, like I said, we know people here, we know people in Tala, don't know anybody in Mandria. Now, when we were looking to move to Tala, we considered various options. So because we lived over here to start with, we wanted to get closer to our school, which is over here in Paphos. And so we'd considered Tala, we'd considered Masogi, we'd considered Sada, we'd considered Konya and Gyroscopiu. We'd looked at all of those places. You start coming down this way, and Mandria is on the flight path of the aeroplanes, which isn't the worst thing in the world if you like aeroplanes. We went to Mandria and actually quite like it, like the village square. In fact, I'm going to let's make it a little bit more interactive. So the village square has been redone in the last probably 3-4 years, something like that. Now it looks like this. And so you've got this area here. You can park here. You've got these sort of like a no-go zone here. these restaurants here, quite nice. There's a tiny little playground there. And you've got this here, and then down here, you've got, I think there's a chip shop, there's like a chippy and stuff like that. But anyway, so this area is really nice and we really like it. But when we were looking, I just felt like, so as an example, if you come over, let me put the satellite view on for a second, come down here, we were looking at some houses here. And while the houses themselves have all got like pools and stuff, for me, just it was too compact. It was literally like, if you look in the back gardens, you got people being able to see into your back gardens. It felt very much almost like a British estate, like a housing estate. And I know that these houses around Mandria is often quite a bit cheaper than it would be in, say, Tala, for instance. But I think that's reflected in the privacy and everything else. Now you can rent some of these ones over here. Like when we were looking, some of these houses were for rent and you get a bit more space and everything else. And I don't know, for me, it just felt like it wasn't really the place for us. Now, one thing I did like about Mandria, and this seems to be the way with Cypriot people in general, is that people don't mind challenging you. So we'd gone out for dinner one night in the square here. We'd gone out for dinner. So I'm just checking the live stream, make sure it's still catching up. We'd gone out for dinner here in the square, and then we'd gone to see what the house was like that we were considering renting at night, because just wondered if it was surrounded by loads of people, like if there was loads of kids hanging around at night and stuff like that. So we took a walk down. It was somewhere around there. In fact, actually, no, it was this was the house here. And we looked at this house. You go, I'll just show you. And we looked at this house, this one. Looked at this house here, and we're like, oh, that looks nice. But the problem is, you've got, so literally you can walk and you can see into the garden here, and the swimming pool was right there. Now, me personally, I didn't want to be able to have somebody walk past the house and see my son in the swimming pool, because at the time I was like, I haven't been to Cyprus and I didn't really know what it was like. You assume you know what it's like, but you don't really know. And so for me, I looked at it and I was like, that's a bit exposed, not really a fan of it, to be honest. It was just too open. If the pool was in the back garden, fine. But anyway, so while we're walking around here at night, I think there's a guy in this house actually came out and he was like, can I help you? And I was like, no, we're good. We were the most suspect people on the planet at this point. We were like, no, we're just casing the joint, looking at this, thinking of renting it. And it was like, if I was that guy, I'd be like, yeah, all right. But anyway, he came out and he challenged us. And I just thought that was really cool because, the community spirit is alive. The neighbors were looking out for for the houses and stuff like that. You wouldn't get that in the UK. People get challenged in the UK, probably get mugged or whatever, and then the police will do nothing. And it just felt nice. But anyway, another reason why we didn't go to Mandria, for those of you considering Mandria, it just felt like there was more crime there than perhaps Gyroskopiou or Tala. Now, you get crime everywhere. You get crime in Tala, you get crime in Comaris because they're a bit more at market. People will go there and target people because they got more money. So crime is a thing. And what you'll find is because it's more residents in these areas rather than Coral Bay, which is predominantly more tourists, you'll find that the people breaking in, they're breaking in because they know wealthy people live there, or wealthier people live there, rather than holiday makers who have just kind of put all their stuff there and have gone out and have left all their stuff exposed. So Mandria came up and it kept coming up in groups, and you kind of kept seeing, I just, at the time, I saw more posts on Facebook reporting crime in Mandria than the other places we were looking at. And yeah, for me, that wasn't the thing. It wasn't the place I wanted to be. So we ruled that out. But it's nice to eat out there for dinner. I will stress that. We like going out there for dinner. It's a nice area, nice food. The restaurants are nice and everything else. So I just didn't want to live there. So then that brings us on to the likes of Konya and Gyroskopiou. So Konya, really like it. Is some great views from Konya. And you're right by this A6 motorway, which when you live here, you'll figure out pretty quickly that if you go anywhere away from Paphos and you go to Limassol, or you come up to Larnaca, or you go to Nicosia or Nicosia, you're coming over to the east of the island, you always end up on this A6 road. And so access to this road is really easy when you live in Konya, and it's also really easy when you live in Gyroskopiou. Now, I actually preferred Konya to Gyroskopiou because it just felt like it was a little bit further out. There was a little bit less going on. It felt more village-like than Gyroskopiou did, but I'll be happy living in both. It's just that we ended up finding the house that we liked in Tala. Plus, we like Tala because it seems like it's 15 minutes away from all the places we want to go to. So if we want to go down to Paphos, we can get to Paphos about 15 minutes or so, get down to the seafront down here. If we want to go to the industrial estate, there's an industrial estate. Where are we? Somewhere this industrial zone, and you might go, why do you want to go there? Well, that's because where I get my car fixed, and that's there's Super Home Centre there, and you've got Lidl there, and you've got all these places there that we kind of visit and frequent. So you can get to there in about 15 minutes. Because my son's clubs are up in Paya, you can get to there in about 15 minutes. And where we're developing property over the Sea Caves area, you can get to there in about sort of 20 minutes. And so for us, it was just nice and central. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful, Cliffy. And yeah, if you've got any other questions, feel free to ask. But hopefully that's helpful for anybody watching. Cool. What else have we got? Uh, Johnny, all the websites are really, really, yeah, really, really dates. All the websites are really, really dates shocking pics. I, I'm gonna make up what I think you're saying. All the websites are really dated and they have shocking pics. That's what I think you're saying. Right. And you're right, they are. And I tell you what, for anybody wondering what they could do as a business out here, I think you could just approach all the local businesses and just pitch them websites. For anybody that builds websites, you could probably just go to all the local Cypriot businesses and build them websites and just earn your living doing that. Especially with AI, you can spin up websites in minutes. Just sell them to all the local people here. They'd love you for it. Right, what we got? Cliffy, I've actually seen the Pathos website. Totally agree. Very retro. I mean, yeah, retro is one word. Dave, if you're watching this, update your website because the service you guys provide is awesome. Website doesn't do you any justice. Music for Life PL20. Hi, we are thinking to move to Cyprus maybe next year with my partner. We both have UK and Polish citizenship. Oh, well, easy for you guys. So, my wife's Polish, for anybody that didn't know. My wife is Polish. And I didn't know this at the time because I'm just a lowly third country national. I don't have a Polish passport. My wife does, and she has a British passport and everything else. So, she's a dual national. And because we're married, what that enabled me to do was actually come through as a EU spousal member on her yellow slip. So effectively, I get the benefits of a yellow slip because I'm married to an EU citizen. That gives me access to GESI. It gives me access, or it gives me the legal right to work here if I wanted to work for a Cypriot company. I basically get all the same rights an EU citizen does or somebody on a yellow slip does, as opposed to just coming through on a pink slip. Now, I didn't know I could just come through on that because when I was going through the application process, we were all geared up for going through the pink slip process. We had to sort out our income and bank statements and police checks and, like all the HIV checks you have to do all this stuff. And we had to get all of this done. And then when it came to it, the guy that was helping me with immigration, he was like, well, your wife's Polish. You don't need to do any of this. You don't need to do all of this. And it made our life so much easier. So the fact that you guys are Polish, you've got Polish citizenship and you're looking to move out here, your life will be much easier than if you were just British people looking to move out here. And the thing is, with Brexit, and I kind of want to stop banging on about Brexit because we voted for it 10 years ago. It was a decade ago, and I think people need to get over it. And I know it impacts people a lot, but it was a decade ago, and yeah, it got implemented in 2020 or whenever it was. But fundamentally, people that have got either a skill or people that have got the right level of income or whatever, you can still come. People see Brexit as this huge thing that stops anybody coming. It doesn't. It makes it more difficult. Yes, it absolutely does. But it's not a blocker. Not a blocker for everybody. It's a blocker for some people. Can't argue with that. It is a blocker for some people. But if you do have the option to get, or you are tied to an EU national, it will make your life infinitely easier than being somebody who's a third country national now because of Brexit. Can't argue that. And for people talking about Irish passports and things like that, I know that that's a thing for quite a few people and that there were some rulings changed and you can actually get, I think it was a passport through descent from like a grandparent. So if you've got a granddad or somebody that is Irish, you could then get an EU passport through that. I have a similar thing. I've got grandparents that are Polish. So I'm actually half Polish, for those of you who don't know. When I say I'm half Polish, most people think it's because of my wife. No, I'm actually half Polish, but I'm British blood. in that I was born in the UK, but I'm sorry, half Polish blood, but I'm born in the UK. So I'm a British citizen. So I don't get any benefits of the Polish side. And it was my mum that was Polish. She was, again, never went to Poland. She was born in the UK, but my grandparents were actually born in Poland. Now, after quite a few years of going through stuff, so I've got a Polish legal team on the case. I've ended up having to recruit some people in Italy for some various things. Really, really long story short, about 4 years now, probably about 3 years into this process, I am like inches away from getting Polish citizenship myself. It's nothing to do with my wife. It's just because of my grandparents. And so anyway, that's something that I've had to spend money on to acquire and everything else. But that's something that I can get. And so, for people that are in a situation where maybe coming to Cyprus is prohibitive because of your residency status, because you're an EU national, because you're not an EU national, and because Brexit has affected things, maybe there's something there that will allow you to unblock that. Maybe there's something in your heritage that you think perhaps was prohibitive before, or maybe you hadn't even considered. It's worth checking. It's worth looking into, because if you can get EU passport, then it makes it really easy to come over here and work. If you come over on a pink slip, legally you can't work. You have to have an income from abroad. So, sorry, that was a lot of waffle there. But yeah, it's cool that you're a Polish citizen. There we go. Can you talk a little bit more about moving a limited company to Cyprus? Ooh, I can, yes. But not in the way you're probably hoping. I will be doing some content on this with respect to setting up businesses in Cyprus. What happens if you want to manage a business from Cyprus, but your business is in the UK? So just to give you a little bit of background, and just before I give you a little bit of background, I'm going to have a little sip of water. Excuse me. Sorry, right. So a bit of background about me. Before we came out here, I've got a business in the UK, and I'm an IT consultant, and I offer consultancy services through my IT business, and I do that remotely still. I have a property business in the UK, which it's a small property business, but anyway, kind of, I'm getting rid of that. I'm handing that over to my brother, and that's fine. We're just going down that route, and I'm going to let him take that over. And I've got two companies here in Cyprus. They've been set up since I arrived in Cyprus, and they both do different things. One of the companies you guys are aware of, or people that have been watching me for a little while now, because we're developing property out here. We're developing property up in the Sea Caves. Now, the question that's been asked is, can I talk about moving a limited company over to Cyprus? Cards on the table, I haven't moved any of my companies over to Cyprus. However, what people can do, and what you might be looking to do, is you probably want to do that because of tax efficiencies, right? You hear about 15% corporation tax instead of the 25% in the UK. Excuse me, sorry. And you hear about no tax on dividends and things like that. And so, of course, you want a limited company in Cyprus. Who doesn't? That's a big part of why people will come. Certainly, if you're entrepreneurial, certainly if you've got businesses that you want to run, of course, you want to move things over to Cyprus. Now, depending on the nature of your business, you can, and this isn't advice, by the way. You're going to want to speak to an accountant on this properly. But depending on your business, HMRC in the UK, they deem you taxable in their eyes if the operations and the management of your company is done in the UK. So if you're a one-man band and you are providing consultancy services, or you're providing other types of services to other people, and the management and the operation is done from Cyprus because you're the operation and you're the management, you control it, then there are ways in which you can move the tax liability from the UK to Cyprus, thereby, in essence, moving your limited company, at least the tax burden, from the UK to Cyprus. There are other things you could do. You could open up a Cypriot office, but then if you were to do that, depending on your company, you would have a UK office servicing presumably UK clients, and that will pay UK tax. And then you could set up a Cypriot office, which could service other people. Where you start to come unstuck is if you just try to move profit, and if HMRC sees you as trying to evade tax and you're doing it in a non-legal way, then because of the dual tax treaty that they have between Cyprus and the UK, it's all kind of open book, so they can see it back and forth. And that can work in your favor because it stops you being double taxed if you're paying tax here already, makes it a little bit easier. But for people that are looking to move a UK business over here, that can make it a lot more tricky. What I would say is, and again, because this isn't advice, what I would say is you need to seek professional advice. You need to, nothing that I say on here really is anything other than my own opinion. And I'm not saying that for legal disclaimers or anything. I'm just saying that I'm not a qualified accountant. I'm just telling you what I've done. And so we've set up companies out here because my intention is to close down all of my operation in the UK because to be honest, I'm done with the UK. For those of you that are, in business, you're probably as sick to death of it as I am. There's a reason why a lot of people are looking to leave the UK right now. I have zero interest in wanting to do and run a business in the UK because why would I want to run my operation from the UK and let HMRC take 25% of it? Plus, I'll be taking a hit probably up to 50% on the income tax. Why would I want to do that? It doesn't make sense. So I'm in a fortunate position because I'm moving business and everything. So I'm not retiring out here like a lot of people are. I'm coming out here to keep building my life. I'm coming out here to accelerate my life, and I'm coming out here to legacy plan because once you've left the UK now for more than 10 years, you don't have to worry about things like inheritance tax. Certain things you will. If you keep property in the UK, that's, I believe, and again, this way you should speak to an accountant that does actually know what they're talking about. But I believe if you've got property in the UK, that is taxed in the location that it physically is. But if you build a property portfolio out here in Cyprus and you want to leave that to the family, no tax, no inheritance tax. So I don't know if that answers the question. Hopefully it does. Music for Life PL20. What instrument do you play? I'm assuming with a name like that, you play some instruments, maybe you teach. I don't know. I'm interested to know about a bit more what you do. Maybe you could tell me your name as well, because that'd be really cool, because that's a long username. That's in May 185. Cool. How you doing, guys? Good to have you on. Wish I'd logged in from the start, Mark. Not having any luck finding a rental, but using Facebook to contact owners direct and viewing a house tomorrow. Cool. Okay. Well, look, you got my details. If you ping me, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. You got my details. You can ping me on Instagram, and if I can help, I will. But yeah, if you're already talking to people on Facebook, cool. But yeah, feel free to reach out. Like I say, can't guarantee I can help, but ping me and I'll come back to you as and when I can. Cliffy, thanks for the heads up. Finding properties. You're so helpful, Mark. Appreciate it. Thanks, Cliffy. I appreciate that too. Thanks very much. Sakoba LA says, Stephen, message retracted, message retracted. Oh. Cliffy, Tala is our preferred area. It's near Tala Cats where we visit every trip over. Yes. Actually, the Tala Cat Sanctuary, we've been there a couple of times, and it's interesting. It's for those of you that like cats, you can go, and it's a charitable organization, and they just look after cats. The kind of the goodness of their own heart, and then donations, and it's a really cool place. My son really likes it there because he's a mad fan of cats. And I'll probably do a video on this at some point. But animals out in Cyprus, unfortunately, aren't treated like the pets that you would have treated in the UK. So you'll find that a lot of the locals kind of see cats like vermin, and they just get treated horribly. And so then you've got places like Tala Cat Sanctuary that are set up to look after these animals and, to kind of care for them. So, but yeah, if you're near Tala Cat Sanctuary, it's a nice area. You're probably bordering on Camaris there then, actually. You're probably bordering on Camaris, which is interesting as well, because if you speak to people in Camaris, I'm not saying they're all like this, but I bumped into somebody in Camaris when I was doing my trial living in Tala back in 2022. And I'd gone for a walk, and it was about 6 a.m. I'd gone for a walk while it was still cool because we're in the peak of summer. And I ventured up into Camaris. I was just walking around, and I met this lady, and very friendly lady. And we just got talking. She's probably like 60 or something like that, maybe a bit older, 65. And she was walking a dog, and told her it was from Tala, and said, "Oh, we're thinking of moving here." And because I was stood in Camaris saying we're staying in Tala and I'm thinking of moving here, she took offense. She was like, "This isn't Tala." I was like, no, but it's it's like there, isn't it? I just walked from Tala. It's kind of it's all one and the same, right? And actually, for those of you that don't know, so you come to Tala and just have a look on here. You come to Tala and you got, well, this area here is not coming up. Oh, Camaris Villa. Oh, don't know why that's coming up there. You got Camaris here. This area is Camaris, and so basically you come down this valley, and then you come here, and this is all like Camaris. It's Leptos village, but this is all Camaris here, and so in my head, I mean, look, I mean, it's like a stone's throw away. So I'd walked around here and I walked up into Camaris, and this lady was like, she was almost offended. She was like, "This isn't Tala." Like, no, 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 but it's kind of there, right? And she went, no, 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 no. We're from Camaris. This is Camaris. And she made it a real big point of going, no, no, we're not Tala. Now, I don't know. For me, it didn't make any odds, but yeah, she was very passionate about telling me that they lived in Camaris, not Tala. So for anybody that lives in Camaris, if you're watching this, yeah, if you have this kind of superiority complex because you live in Camaris, I mean, you are a little bit higher up the hill. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe because it rolls downhill. I don't know. But anyway, it made me smile. What we got? So Johnny dated. Yep. Yeah, indeed. Websites. Stephen, are you saying Coral Bay has been demoted from the top of your crime league? Nope. Not saying that at all. Not at all. Right. Let me show you. I'm not saying that at all. For those of you that aren't aware, so Coral Bay is this place here. And for those of you that have ever been on holiday, you'll have gone down to Coral Bay and you'll come down here and you go to this beach. And this is really nice. And actually, I kind of like this beach more because this beach, Corolia Beach, if I just go to the satellite view, you'll see here kind of yeah, this is the bit here. You park in this massive car park, you come down here and it's all nice and calm. And actually, for those of you that have never been, actually, for those of you that have been as well, a lot of people will go to Coral Bay because everybody goes, oh, go Coral Bay Beach. And you come down here and they've got the water sports, and this is really crowded, and everybody parks up here in the summer. Next door, you've got this Corolia Beach where you still have some water sports here. But if you come to this car park and you keep driving around and you end up staying down here, the water around here is all nice and calm, and this is great for kids. Like you can see the rocks here break it all up. This is great for little kids. Like whenever we've got friends coming and we're young kids, we always take them to this beach because it's really nice golden sand. It's not a rocky beach. It's a sandy beach. And then around this part as well in the summer, like this bit can be relatively quiet. Like you've got everybody packed in like sardines here. Coral Bay is packed in the summer, but this bit, you can just be a little bit quieter down here. Probably won't be now I've said it because everybody's going to go there, but it was last year. But the reason why I'm pointing this out is because if you can get these snorkel masks, it's like a full face mask with a snorkel on, they're really good. And if you come snorkeling out here, you get to see loads of cool fish and stuff out here. And I haven't seen this personally, but where you've got the buoys, which you can't see, but the buoys or the buoys, my business partner was telling me that if you swim out far enough, you can see stingrays at this part. You know, like you swim out to the buoys and you kind of just snorkel around there, you can see stingrays. So that's really cool if you like that sort of thing. You come over to Coral Bay, because it's just like water sports and there's loads of people, it was crap. You couldn't see anything when you were snorkeling because there's so much sand and it's all kind of churned up. You're just swimming around. You can't see anything. You couldn't even see little fish. So depending on what you want to do, if you like snorkeling, you like seeing a bit of sea life, it's just a stone's throw away. You can come there. But anyway, I wasn't talking about the sea, I was talking about crime. So let's go back to the map. Crime. Coral Bay does have a lot of crime. And it seems to be opportunists targeting tourists because you've got a high footfall of tourists here. Lots of these places around here are Airbnbs, and you've got a lot of tourists here and everything else. So, I've told the story several times now, but for first time viewers on this channel, I was looking at renting a house in Coral Bay because the price was decent, the house was lovely, it came with a really decent solar system. But my problem with it was, let me come back to me. My problem with it was that it was on a main road between Coral Bay, the centre, and Philippos. And my view is always that, no matter where you look, if you've got a reason for somebody to pass your house and you've got a higher footfall of traffic past your house, then there is a higher probability that somebody's going to see in there, in your house, see something they like and try and break in. So I don't like a house that is on if people can come past my house all day long and it's not suspicious, I'm just a little bit more nervous about that than a house that's, say, down a cul-de-sac or something else. So anyway, we were looking at renting this house and we were looking at the windows because the windows was a point of contention from our first house because the insulation was terrible. When we were installing Starlink satellite on our roof, when we were installing Starlink, I didn't want to have to drill a hole through my landlord's wall. But what I worked out is that I could poke the Ethernet cable that came from a Starlink satellite. I could poke it through the windows because the sliding mechanism, you could see daylight top and bottom. So I could just feed the cable through. That's how bad the insulation was. So I could poke the cable through. So when we were looking at the next house, we were like, well, we need to get something with decent windows. Anyway, on the ground floor, the sliding windows had like wooden chocks in them, like bits of wood that were like kind of cut to size, and they were in the sliding rails. Now I knew what they were for. Pretty obvious. It stops the window sliding open. Why do you want to stop the window sliding open? Because you don't want people to break in. You don't want to force the window. And I said to the landlord, I said, "Oh, what's the wood for?" He looks and he goes, "Oh, yeah, we don't need them anymore. It's just kind of we used to put them in there from years ago, but old habits die hard." And I was sitting there thinking, old habits die hard. No, no, no. Everybody complains, well, not everybody. A lot of people complain that Cyprus is getting worse, which means that 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, Cyprus was considered safer than it is today. Pretty much like everywhere in the world. So don't let that put you off. But why would somebody have an old habit from 20 years ago when Cyprus was safe and you could leave your doors unlocked and your windows open? Why would you put wood in there from 20 years ago? Why is it an old habit? No, you're basically just bullshitting me, and I get that. And you're putting bits of wood in because it's a crime area and people break in. I've not seen that anywhere else. I've not seen that in Tala. I've not seen that in uh, Mandria. Although, to be fair, and I've got to be fair here, I haven't viewed a house in Mandria only from the outside. So maybe they do it in Mandria. But anyway, in my mind, and certainly from what I see on Facebook, Coral Bay does seem to get hit by quite a lot of crime. So, Stephen, unfortunately, it's still my number one place for crime in the Paphos area. It still retains that spot. But, and I will say this with passion, and that's not the wrong word. I will say this with, I don't know what the word is, integrity, hopefully, I don't know. If you are in an area around here that is Airbnb central, that's where the crime is likely to be. There are going to be nice places in Coral Bay that are, this will be classed as Coral Bay. And you've got these villas that are out there, and, right, some of them might still be Airbnbs, but predominantly, if you're looking to rent a house, it feels like the houses that are Airbnb properties are targeted by criminals, and the people that are living out here day to day probably don't have the same problem because they target the Airbnbs. You've got a turnover of people coming every week or every 2 weeks. New people coming in, you can just rob them. I'm not saying that they're getting robbed every 2 weeks, because if they did, nobody would come. I'm probably making it sound worse than it is. But again, it was a consideration for us. And I wanted my son to be able to go out and be safe and all the rest of it. And I didn't want to have to be worrying about, is it going to happen or not? Now, it could still happen here. People in Tala get burgled, they get broken into. People in Camaras get broken into, because it happens everywhere. What I would say is just apply the UK common sense that you would bring from the UK. So don't leave your doors locked or unlocked when you're going out. Don't leave your windows wide open. Don't leave the keys in your car when you go into the shop with the engine running, like the locals seem to do. You don't do that, and you'll be fine. You can avoid most of the crime. People talking about stuff being stolen out their garden. Let me ask you a question. If you're in the UK and you've got kids' bikes, for instance, would you leave them at the front of your house and think they're still going to be there the next day? They're probably going to get nicked, right? It's the same thing here. If you leave stuff in your garden and it's on display, people are going to come in and they're going to take it. So don't give people a reason to come in. That I'm not saying that will stop all problems, but you can avoid a lot of issues by just taking sensible precautions. Is my opinion anyway, for what it's worth. Johnny, we found Camaras on our last trip. Lovely houses, great views, but spenny. Yeah. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna come back to the Camaras because I like Camaras too. I'm gonna be honest, I like it. And if I just come to it, and one of the things you get with Camaras is this club, this Camaras club here. Because as part of the Leptos estate group, you seem to get access to, and I'm saying seem because I've never rented from a Leptos estate group, but you seem to get access to facilities. It's like they build a community, which is why they've got this medical center and everything else. Now, I can go to this Camaras club and it's no problem, but basically this clubhouse here is predominantly for local residents, and let me just start this guy's video, this lady's video. And you can go to this clubhouse. We can go there. We've sat there and had coffee and stuff like that before, and you can just sit and have an ice cream. If you want, the kids can come and they can just come and use the pool. So there is a little clubhouse there, like a little community. And so a lot of, keep spinning. There you go. There's the pool. Right. So I'm feeling dizzy. Blah, blah, blah. Right. Let's just stop that a second. There you go. You get these lovely views. A lot of Camaris and even Tala to an extent has these amazing views. Now, actually, here, what I like about this is you can see this is Potima. You've got Coral Bay just here in the distance. And then this one here is, I forgot the beach, Corolia Beach. There you go. And so, yeah, you get really nice views. And the great thing is this is where your sunsets are. So you get beautiful sunsets as well from this side of the island. It's amazing. So you get really nice views. But the problem I find with Camaris, and again, the club is great and that's all cool. You get to meet people and expats love it because people that, let's be honest, if you're going to retire, you come to a place like this, you've got somewhere to go where there's lots of other retired people around. So it's quite nice. So again, if you are looking to retire out here, then that's a place you can go and you're going to meet other retirees and you're going to have lots of things in common as well. But the thing I don't like about Camaris, so you see they've all got pools and everything else. And let's just pick somewhere at random. So I'm just let's drag the little man out. I'm going to dump it. Oh, well, I was going to dump him there. Sod's law, it's the road. Okay, let's just go to another road. Let's go to this road. That was the road I wanted. So you'll see here, it looks very nice. The thing I don't like about Camaris, and you see this with a lot of places, you see it in Sada. If you go to Olympus Village, it's the same thing. So this is this guy's house. And the cars are parked upper level, and you've got it's sequential parking. You've got one car in, and you've got another car comes in behind it. And ordinarily, you might say that's not a problem, but that means one car is going to be in the sun, this car gets the shade. And sometimes they're side by side, but for me, it was just it's a little bit of a faff for parking. It's kind of like what you'd have in the UK. And if you're coming from the UK, that's fine. But the prices of these houses, like again, another one there, like you look at that, I don't even think you'd fit a second car in. So you spend a fortune on these houses and you can't even park more than two cars. So if you're looking to live out here, looking to raise kids out here, maybe get a third car, like the land that you don't have from these properties, this one, there you go, this one's better, right? It's more the exception than the norm. This one's got a bit of parking there, which is nice. But again, it always felt to me like you're living on top of each other, even though it's very picturesque, it's very beautiful, right? And if I just go to another area as well, so let's just pick another area random. Let's zoom out. Let's drag the little dude, and oh no, let's go up here. Let's go. What's that? Garden of Eden. That sounds nice. Sounds lovely. Again, look at the views, right? Beautiful. Some people there. Let's not go that way. Let's just go up here. Oh, well, anyway, we've gone a little bit quicker, but that's fine. So let's just look at this. That's parking. That's your driveway, right? And then you park up there, and then you've got these steps, and you go up to this house. So every single time you come back from the shops, you're going up the stairs, you're carrying all your shopping up the stairs in the heat. And it's going to be 30 degrees in the summer, and you've got to carry all your bags up. And it's just, this is what Camaris is like. A lot of people don't like Tala and Camaris because it's too hilly. But, I don't like it for other reasons because you're constantly like here again, beautiful views. The house is below the parking, so you've got amazing views. But you're parking up, you can't see your cars. They're a bit exposed from the road. So if somebody was going to come and steal your car, it's a little bit exposed for my liking. You can put a gate across and stuff. But then, if you've got one car in, the other car's behind it, you got to swap them around and all the faff. And then when you're taking your shopping out or you're carrying water, anything like that, you've got to carry it up and downstairs all the time. I don't know. I like Camaris, but it's just something to bear in mind. If you are going to go there and thinking of living there, then it's just something to bear in mind because, it's hilly. It's a hilly place. Cliffy, yes, Mark, through grandparents. That's the route I'm going at the moment. It's my sister. It's my sister a year to get hers. Yeah, that's cool. It's cool if you're going through your grandparents. That's good. I know a couple of people. I think Brian on this channel is doing a similar thing. Actually, not on this channel. Sorry, on his own channel, Path to Paphos. Quite a cool channel. If anybody wants another view on the world, I never. Wrong way. I always try and say, watch other people's stuff. My opinion is my opinion. I've got a view of the world. It's got my experiences in it. Other people have got different experiences. So go and watch their channels as well. Yeah, Brian from Path to Paphos. Yeah, he's on there. He's a cool guy. And yeah, he's going through a similar situation as well. So yeah, you can, like I say, if you can get an EU passport, awesome. Great stuff. Stephen Ireland, right. I'm in your situation. I'm Scottish, wife is Irish. Yeah, okay. Interested to know exactly what tests and checks you actually needed to do. And was there anything different for you, your wife, or your boy? Okay, so I've threatened that I'm going to do this video. This was going to be part 3 of a mini series, which has been coming for a little while. And I just haven't finished my own research yet. So basically, when we moved out, there was over the course of about maybe 8, 9 months, there was loads of paperwork we were doing, and what I'm just trying to build out. And time is quite short, so I'm not finishing it. And I want to do it in enough detail that it's actually useful for you guys. Is the timeline of events of what we did, when things were sent. And I'm going to show you, like I've done previously. I'll show you when emails were sent. I did this with the schools. Showed you when we emailed the schools, when the things came back, responses came back, and things like that. Now, you want to know exactly what tests we did, what checks we did. It changed for me partway through because I could go down the yellow slip route. So the checks, if you're coming through on a pink slip, this is by no means definitive. I'm not an immigration expert. I don't sell immigration services. I don't want to. This isn't me. This is not my bag, right? There are people on here that will talk about it and they will sell it to you off the back of the content. That's fine. That they've got a business that works with that. That's cool. That's not me. I will just tell you what I know. And like I say, this is why I want to go through mine in detail, because I will give you as much information for free as I can, because like I say, I just want to help you guys out. So why not? On the immigration front, if you're coming through on a pink slip, you end up having to do a lot more tests and checks than you do if you're coming through on a yellow slip. Now, if you're coming through on a pink slip, you have to provide bank statements for X amount of things, like 12 months in the UK. You have to be able to prove that you've got a certain level of income, that you can support yourself when you come over, and a whole bunch of things like that. You then have to have a police, I think it's an ARCO check, or you have to have a police check where you prove that you haven't got a criminal record, because if you have got a criminal record, you can't come. Then you have to do blood tests to prove that you don't have HIV or any other kind of infectious disease, because if you've got them, then you can't come. In fact, on this note, something to bear in mind. I need another drink, sorry. I'm talking too much. Right, so on this note, HIV is the obvious one. But something I got wind of recently, and I found this out as well through my own blood tests, is that I got told, having had some blood tests done by a doctor here, that I wasn't, what's the word? I wasn't inoculated for hepatitis B. Didn't bother me. I was like, okay, is that good? Is it bad? I wasn't inoculated for it. I'm not vaccinated for it. Hepatitis B is on the list of infectious diseases that if you have it and you're infectious, then you won't be able to come and live in Cyprus, just like with HIV. Now, unlike HIV, where you can get tested for it and everything in the UK, hepatitis B, people in the UK aren't generally tested for, and you're not really inoculated for. And the people here in Cyprus, it's almost like it's open knowledge, because the doctor I was speaking to said, "Oh no, yeah, we vaccinate for hepatitis B from, I don't know if it's birth, but from when you're a child, you get a hepatitis B vaccine like we do with, whatever it is, smallpox or whatever. I can't remember what the vaccines are now. You just have them, right, as part of a kid when you're growing up. Somebody with medical experience will tell you what you have, but all the things, the tetanus jabs and stuff like that. What's this one? You get the scarf for on your arm. I don't know. Anyway, all the vaccinations that you have when you're young. Well, you get all these vaccinations, but in the UK, they do not vaccinate for hepatitis B. And I didn't know they did or they didn't until I came out here and they told me that the UK don't vaccinate for hepatitis B. Now, it's a really simple vaccination. You do it over the course of about 6 months. You have one jab, then you have a second jab, then a third jab, and then sort of 6 months later, you're pretty much immune from hepatitis B. From what I understand, there's not really any side effects from doing so. People in Cyprus do it routinely, like most people out here are vaccinated for hepatitis B, but we're not in the UK. So they will check you for hepatitis B. Now, if you are not vaccinated for hepatitis B, I don't even know how you catch it. If you be honest, I'm not really sure how you would catch it. But if you were to have hepatitis B in the UK, what I do understand is that you don't have necessarily any symptoms. You're not necessarily symptomatic of it. You can have a disease not carry symptoms. But if you have it and you don't know you have it, when you do the blood test and the screening and everything, you come over here. If it's then picked up and you're found to have it, that can cause you problems through immigration and you might not even be able to come. So it's worth asking for it in the UK. When you're getting your checks done and everything else, ask for that to be done, because the Cypriot authorities are going to need it. If you're coming through on a pink slip, the Cypriot authorities are going to need it anyway. So you have to get all of those tests done and everything else. And so you might as well do it in the UK and find out before you start moving. But it was not something that we weren't aware of it before we moved out. It was just kind of, you find out as part of the process. So anyway, you have to get tested for infectious diseases. You've got the criminal record check and everything else. There was a whole bunch of documents that we needed to get, and like the wedding certificates needed to be not annulled. Annulled is cancelled, isn't it? Apostilled. So you have to get your wedding certificates apostilled, and you do that with various authorities. You get it done in the UK. And so there was a whole bunch of stuff that we needed to get done. But then there was a whole bunch of stuff that I personally didn't need to get done. And this is what I can't remember. And this is, my memory's a bit rubbish like this. So this was going back now, nearly 4 years or 3 years ago for sure. And this is why I'm trying to do the research to make the proper video, and I can take you through it step by step. So I don't want to give inaccurate information, but that's some of the things that you need to get checked anyway. So hopefully that's helpful. I can't really give you a full conclusive answer tonight, but hopefully that's of some use. Okay. Uh, Aaron managed 6421. Meetups sound like a good idea. We'll keep a lookout for the dates. Cool. Thanks very much. Yeah, I will make people aware for sure. So just if you're not subscribed, subscribe. You'll see me going live, and then I'll make people aware of what's happening. But I think, like I say, it's likely to be the first Saturday of the month, just because it's easy. If it's a Saturday, it's the first one of the month. So whatever that happens to be, it'll be nice and easy for people to remember then. Music Fly message retracted. That's in May. So Kevin, we have friends in Camaras, but know what you mean. A little bit Berkshire Golf Club. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah. Like I say, I haven't met many people from Camaras, but the ones that did meet, a little bit like that. But that's fine. I mean, end of the day, I'm never going to judge people for it. I just found it quite interesting. There was that she was very much, this isn't Tyler. I'm sorry. I wasn't really sorry. Ferry Monica, for your son's residency, did you need to bring a postal birth certificate? Did you use British or Polish? Yeah, so yes, we did need to do that from what I remember, and it was all British because he was born in the UK. My wife, she had to do stuff I think she had to do stuff in Poland. Again, I can't remember exactly, which is why I don't want to give you guys false information. And plus, what I'm trying not to do on this channel, I'm trying not to give you a how to. And the reason for that is because I can tell you what I did, and I can say these are the things you need to take into account. If I start giving you a prescriptive process, step by step by step by step by step, this is what to do, it'll probably change. And then that makes this video out of date. Whereas if I'm talking about what I experienced and talk about the thing that I went through, it makes the content a little bit more evergreen, and it makes it more relevant for people moving out a year from now, 2 years from now. And this is why, I'm not an immigration specialist. I've never proclaimed to be. Like I said, I don't want to be. That's not me. So speak to the people that are professionals. It's like with the tax advice, I would never try and give you advice on tax. I can just tell you what I've done. I can tell you what, my accountants have done. I can give you advice on how I found my accountant, which accountants to use, the prices of accountancy. I can show you stuff like that, but I can't give you financial advice. I can just tell you what I've done, and I can make it about me. And that way it's irrefutable as well, because hey, I'm just giving you my experience. And you know what? It's quite interesting because I've seen people recently, people get negative in comments, and I find it really funny actually. People get negative in comments, and it's like, oh, you're trying to make yourself out to be an expert. No, I'm not. That's exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to tell you my experience, and equally, I'm trying to tell you this is just my experience. Go out there and watch other people's channels as well, and what you see their experience. This is just my view of the world, but I'm trying to give you an unfiltered view of the world, so that this is the stuff that I was interested in when I was moving out. And I didn't have an outlet for it. I didn't have a live Q&A on a Sunday night to be able to ask people this stuff. When I was moving out, everybody wanted to charge me money before they'd come out, you meet up for a coffee. And then all of a sudden it's like, we'll charge you, here's our breakdown of fees and everything else. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to be helpful, not as an expert, just as a decent freaking human being, Anyway, like I say, this isn't my business. My business isn't immigration. It's not tax and everything else, So I did they have apostille certificates? Yes, they did. I can't remember the exact order. I will try and do a video on it chronologically. And like I say, I've been doing a whole bunch of research on my own journey so that I could give you facts. And I will do like I've always done. I'm going to show you screenshots. I'm going to show you, emails and things like that. And I'm just going to show you the process, because then that way you can You can get a feel for what it's going to be like. And like I say, it's probably changed since I did it. So there's no point me saying this is what will happen because it probably won't. You know, but at least you'll get a feel for how bureaucratic it is. I mean, I remember going through customs, frickin' hell, a wedge of paper, so much paperwork we had to fill in. You had to like give them a value of every single item you were bringing through. And it's like, okay, so all of that stuff, I want to document it properly, and there'll be a big video on it. We'll do a proper deep dive on it. And yeah, hopefully that's helpful anyway. Well, it will be. I haven't done it yet. It's not helpful at all, is it? Music for Life Me20. I want to move to Cyprus for lifestyle and tax optimization. Soon launching some software product too. I don't have to move the company. I am happy to reopen it here. Wondering about the bureaucracy. Oh, okay. Well, I can tell you. I can tell you a bit about this, and this might interest you then as well, because when you're setting up a company here, excuse me, when you're setting up a company here, the costs for setting up a company here are way more than you would expect and way more than the UK. So in the UK, up until recently, it used to cost you like £12.50 to set up a company in a company's house, and you could just do it online. And literally within a couple of days, you were literally set up and you've got all these directorial responsibilities. I think now it's like £100 or something. I've not done it recently. I think it went up to like £100. Now, the thing is, you can do that yourself. And yes, you can pay an accountant to do it. And yes, they might charge you a few £100 for setting your company up. In Cyprus, everything seems to be done through a lawyer. You have to use a lawyer to get it all set up. And so to set up a company out here, minimum, you're going to be paying €1,200. A lot of places will charge you £2,000 for setting it up. And so setting up a company out here is very expensive. In your circumstances, though, if you're looking at building software and writing software, something that you want to check out, and again, check this out with your accountant, assuming you own the IP of that software, the intellectual property, you can apply for a, what's the word? Discount? I'm not sure the word. Basically, you can apply to have a lower tax. So tax for a normal company out here is 15%. If you are an IP-based company, so if you write a piece of software and you own the IP, you can get your tax rate down in certain circumstances to about 2%. I don't know the ins and outs of it. When I was talking to various accountants out here, they asked me, what do I do? What's my business? Do I own any IP? Because if so, let them know, or let them know as soon as I do, because they can get my tax rate down. I think it was about 2%. So if you're going to write software, absolutely, you don't want to be doing that in the UK, giving away 25% to HMRC. Set the company up here. That's why there's lots of businesses out here, lots of development. In fact, there's loads of stuff going on out here at the moment. And I think Cyprus is definitely up and coming. And you've got lots of investment happening out here, lots of businesses out here, and for this very reason, because it is kind of a tax haven on Europe's doorstep. So absolutely, if you're looking to do that, set it up out here. You'll pay more for the company setup, but you're going to save that back in tax anyway. And like I say, if you own the IP of your business and the stuff that you're doing, then you're going to be able to get the tax rate down some more. Hope that's helpful anyway. We get to. By the way, my name is Michael or Michał Michał or Michael. Michał, yeah. Polish way, I think. Michał. Is it Michał? Are you Polish? Huh? Hang on a minute. I'm confusing myself now. Right, anyway. Nice to meet you. Nice meeting you too. Pleasure having you on. And for everybody else that is on as well, I appreciate everybody dialing in. And there's 25 people online at the moment. An average view time of 25 minutes is what I'm seeing on the stats. That's you guys listening to me prattle on for 25 minutes. I really appreciate that. You guys have got time and you've got stuff to do on a Sunday night. And I'm sure I'm not the highlight of it, but I appreciate you guys dialing in. So that is really cool. So thanks very much. Phil, hi Mark. Is it cheaper in general to buy a new car in Cyprus than the UK, as well as having to ship it over? Ooh, I don't know. Secondhand, definitely cheaper in the UK. So if you can bring a car over and transfer it with your residency, 9 times out of 10, cheaper in the UK for sure. Used cars out here, they are older, they're in worse condition, they've got moon mileage on, and they're labeled as excellent condition. and they're not. They're honestly, the cars out here, like for those of you that have been to Cyprus, you'll see the majority of the cars on the road, they are diabolical. And Cyprus had the reputation at one point for having the oldest, most polluting cars in Europe on the roads, and that's why they brought in this thing where unless you're bringing a vehicle in as part of transfer of residency, for the most part, you can't bring a vehicle in that's more than 5 years old. There are some exceptions to it. If you've got a classical car, it needs to be more than 30 years. I think you can bring agricultural pickup trucks and things like that. But yeah, for the most part, if it's commercial, I think you're okay. But if it's a normal car, unless you're bringing it through residency transfer, then it has to be less than 5 years old. If you're bringing it as part of residency transfer, you're not going to pay import duty, you're not going to pay VAT, and also you won't be able to sell it for about 3 years after it's registered. So for me, it took me about a year to get the car registered here on Cypriot plates. And then I had to sign this thing that was basically saying if I sell it within 3 years, I then have to pay the import duty and everything that I saved by bringing it in and the VAT. So there is a massive benefit to bringing a car in that is used from the UK. If you've got something that you use and that you like now, then that's fine. New cars, though, which was the question that you've asked, is it cheaper to buy a new car in Cyprus than the UK? I don't know. I'll be honest. The best thing you can do would be to look at the dealers that you're interested in. So, as an example, what have you got on the island? You've got BMW, you've got Mercedes, you've got Toyota, you've got Hyundai, you've got Kia, you've got all these dealerships on the island. The best thing to do would be to Google them and go on to the ones that you're interested in, look for them in Cyprus, and start looking at the prices of new cars versus the cost of a new car in the UK. I did do a video on shipping, and for me to bring my car and a whole bunch of other stuff in a 40-foot container with insurance and everything else, the whole lot end to end cost me about 11.5 grand. That was bringing furniture and everything else. If you're just bringing a car, it's cheaper. You can do roll on, roll off, makes it cheaper. But, again, depends on your circumstances, depends what you want to do. But I've never bought a new car out here, so I'm not going to pretend that I have. I've never bought a new car out here. Have a look at the cars that you're interested in. If you're looking at something like a Tesla, then just buy it in the UK because there's no Tesla dealerships on the island, so you can't even buy a new Tesla on the island. But have a look on the island for the new cars that you're interested in, and you're gonna have to work it out to see which price is preferential. But certainly if you're bringing in a used car or a nearly new car, then it's cheaper in the UK 9 times out of 10. The other thing I would say is that if you are a bit of a petrol head like I am, then if you're transferring a residency over here, you will want to bring over your car. And if I was doing this again, I would bring over something that was a bit more exotic and a little bit rarer than what you can buy on the island. So as an example, I've always liked, and for those of you that have seen me talk about this a few times now, you'll know, but I've always liked the Jaguar XKR. Don't know why, I've just always liked it. It's kind of, I liked it. I like the original, I like the new ones, and I just, but they stopped making them in about, I think it's 2014 was the last one that rolled off the production line. Now, I've always liked them. It's a V8, 500 horsepower monster, and I always wanted one, and I'd contemplated bringing one over here, but I didn't. I put my sensible trousers on. I bought Mercedes because there was loads of used Mercedes on the island, and I figured when it breaks, I can get parts easier on the island. So I just put my sensible trousers on. Plus, I didn't want to stick out like a sore thumb for the first year. I just wanted to keep my head down, not draw too much attention to myself. Looking back on it now, knowing what I now know, I cannot bring in a Jaguar XKR anymore because it's older than 5 years. Those cars, I saw one. I mean, people ask stupid prices for things, everything, garden furniture, normal furniture, settees, beds, secondhand stuff that literally in the UK people would give away. People seem to try and charge hundreds of euros for here. And I saw this Jaguar. It was the older one. And for those of you that don't know cars, this will probably be boring the crap out of you right now. But it was the 4.2 litre, not the 5 litre. So it was the older engine. It had the stick as opposed to the dial for the gear selector. It was a 4.2 litre. And that was going for 40,000 euros. Now, they started to see sense and they dropped the price to 35,000 euros. That same car in the UK, I looked on Auto Trader, you could buy for about 10 grand. So it annoys me looking back, going, you know what? I would have bought something more exotic because actually it's going to hold its value more. So, even if you can buy new out here, for those of you that are thinking longer term, you can actually buy something more exotic, buy it older, because you cannot import a Jaguar XKR on the island anymore. You can't import anything more than 5 years old. So if you're looking at performance cars, maybe looking at an older school BMW M3 or an M5 or whatever it might be, an Aston Martin, it doesn't matter. But you can't buy them on the island secondhand anymore unless they're either really overpriced or they've got astronomical mileage on there. And even then, you can't always guarantee the condition of the cars. So that's a lot of talk about cars. I could talk about cars all night. Not going to, because like I said at the start, see, look, my viewers are dropping off. Whenever I talk about cars, I could talk about cars all night, but people seem to be disinterested in cars. So I'm going to shut up. Music Fly P20. Ah, Polish. Michał. Okay. Well, cześć. Or double virtual. Cliffy, I appreciate all the info you are passing on to us. Cool. I'm happy, and I'm happy that it's helping, Cliffy. So you're more than welcome. Lee, evening Mark. Evening Lee, evening Kelly, if you're watching. Good to have you on. I think you guys are coming out. Is it October again? I think something like that. Music for life. Okay, so I'm going to stop calling you that. I asked you for your name and stop using it. So, Mihao, thanks. It's very helpful. I like how you are not sugarcoating stuff. Do I need to open a business bank account to open a company there? As far as I know, I will qualify for the low IT tax, which is why Cyprus. Yeah, I thought so. Well, I didn't think so, but if you own the IP, then yeah. Oh, blimey. You want to ask me about banks? I did a big ranty video about banks. In a nutshell, business banking out here seems to suck if you're using a Cypriot bank. It's old, it's archaic, loads of paperwork. I did a video on it maybe 2 weeks ago, and here's a spoiler alert, but 9 visits later, I still don't have a business bank account that I could use. I ended up setting it up on Revolut, never looked back. That's the short abridged version. And I try not to sugarcoat stuff, because what's the point? I'd rather just give it to you as it is. Like I say, it's just my opinion though. Some people love Banker Cyprus. Some people hate Revolut. You're always going to get opposing opinions. There is nothing on this planet that doesn't have opposing opinions. There are people that will love Revolut. There are people that hate it. There are people that love Banker Cyprus, people like me that hate it. I like Revolut because if you're moving money, which it sounds like you might be, if you're moving money from the UK to Cyprus and back and forth, you can get much better exchange rates on there. And there are people that have used Revolut and had their bank accounts frozen and everything else. I had my bank account frozen with HSBC, and they didn't give two monkeys when I was saying that I've got invoices going out and money. They didn't care. HSBC can do it. All the banks can do it. People love HSBC, people hate them. There will always be opposing views. I'm just trying to give you my view of the world, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just my experience with it, but I'm glad you're finding it useful. Alex, hey, good to have you, Alex. Good to see you on. What we got? So, and Emma as well, if you're watching, by the way. If Emma's watching, then hi. Right, hang on. Missed the start, but catching up now. Well, I've lost what's on. Missed the start, but catching up now. Count is in for the meetup. Baracus is looking great now. It's reopened, but agree that the service was slow and the food was a bit meh. Shame, isn't it? Because it looks great. As you say, it looks really good, but it was a bit meh. So unfortunately, that is the case. Mihao, yeah, I saw the banking video. Just wanted to know if it's required by law. No, not required by law at all. No. I'm happy to stick to my Revolut or Wise. So Wise is interesting. You can have a personal Wise account out here, but they don't seem to have business banking out here. So I tried Wise first of all, and because I've got both Wise and Revolut, but I couldn't get a business bank with Wise out here. And yeah, they didn't. Well, I mean, this was a year ago when I last tried it. Maybe they've kind of, I think, and I could be wrong here, but I think there was some kind of falling out with Wise and Cyprus, and something happened. They used to be here for business banking, then they're not, and it kind of went back and forth. Maybe they're in now. I'm not sure. Okay. Mihao, I also do programming for video games for various clients all around the world. You asked if I play any instruments. I do guitar, keyboard, and drums. Yourself? Well, I can give you two answers to this. So, I used to play the keyboard, and I wasn't very good. I mean, when I was younger, I played. I played, yeah, at school like you used to play. I played at this old people's home. I entertained them. I haven't had any formal training on it for years. So not really. I'd be bigging myself up if I said yes. But I mean, you can put me in front of a keyboard and I can play a tune with more than one finger. But I don't really play any instruments anymore, unfortunately. But the other thing you've mentioned about video games, you do programming for video games. So I don't know how old you are, Miao, but I used to work for a company called Free Radical Design based in Nottingham. And for those of you who are into games, they made the Time Splitters series. In fact, it was the owners of that company. You got Steve Ellis, Dave Doak, and Carl Hilton. They used to work for the Microsoft game studio Rare, and they were the guys that were responsible for GoldenEye 64, and they made the first 4-player split screen. I think it was Steve Ellis in particular did the 4-player split screen, made all of that tech work, and then they brought that over, set their own company up for Radical Design, did Time Splitters and everything else, and then I joined them in like 2006 and started working on Haze at the time. I was, if you complete the game Haze, you'll see me in the credits, and we were also making Battlefront 3, which would have been awesome, but then yeah, LucasArts pulled the plug on that one, and we kind of all got screwed over, and the company went into redundancy. So anyway, well, we were made redundant. The company went into liquidation. But yeah, so I used to make games as well, but I wasn't technical like you. I've always been in that instance, I was an associate producer, and now into project management and things like that. So I'm in awe of people that can code and write code like that, because I was never clever enough to. So well done you. Right. Okay. So there are no more questions. We've got 22 people online. There are no more questions in the chat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to my like and share screen. I'm going to give my voice a break for just a second. And what I will say is, if you are finding this interesting, entertaining, or useful in any way, please give it a like and share. And if you're not already subscribed, then please do so. When I was first moving to Cyprus, there was nobody really showing what life was really like out here in Cyprus. And so I'm trying to document it now for the rest of us. And like, my only ask is really is that if you are finding it useful, then I'm just trying to help as many people as possible. So if you see people online that are asking, and they're maybe asking questions that you think my videos can answer, just give it a share. Then maybe they'll get some benefit from it too. And yeah, I will answer some more questions. We're on 10 past 11. I can keep going. I've still got a bit of energy tonight. So if you want to ask more questions, feel free to do so. I am going to have a drink. And if you want to put any questions in the chat, I will hang around for a bit. And if you don't, then that's also cool as well. Okie dokie. Right, let me come back to me. There's my little break. Okay, I'm not seeing anything coming through in the chat just yet, but I know this is a little bit laggy on the live stream because it's still showing my like and share screen. So by the time you see this, I will already be about 20 seconds ahead. So let's just see if anybody wants to ask anything else. If not, I can let you all go and stop taking up your Sunday night. Any more for any more? What happens is I'll ask this question and then nobody answers. And then when I start to fade out, then 2 or 3 questions always come through right at the end. And I feel really bad for not answering them. Excuse me. And that's cool. If nobody's got any more questions, I will stop taking up your time. So ask now, or you'll have to wait till next week. Or you can put it in the comments. And if I can get to the comments, I will. And if I can help, always happy to. Cool. I'm going to go to the like and share screen one last time. I'm going to leave that there because if nobody puts any questions through, then I'm going to leave you guys to it. I'm going to let you guys have a good evening, but I will say thank you for tuning in. I will always say that because I appreciate you guys spending your time with me on a Sunday night to watch and listen and learn. And yeah, like I say, I will have a Cyprus Unfiltered meetup group going at some point in the near future. And so if and when that happens, I will let you guys know. And it'd be good to meet a lot of you in person as well. So that's really cool. Stephen, thanks, Mark. Have a great week. Thank you too, Stephen. You too. Mihal. So, wait a minute. Right. We do have a question. Let me come back. It's just about to go. It's like an encore, isn't it? Like, hey, come back. Okay, fine. We've got more questions. Mihal. So, if I'm managing my company from Cyprus, do you recommend opening it in Cyprus or leaving a UK company, but just making sure it's taxed in Cyprus? Ooh, okay. It depends. If you want the cleanest break, if you want the cleanest break and you don't already have clients in the UK and everything else, depends. I mean, this is very, very, it's going to be specific to you. If you've got clients that don't mind being billed by a Cypriot company and they don't mind changing over and all of that good stuff, I would probably just move it. If you've got clients that are going to get nervous because all of a sudden they're now being invoiced from a Cypriot company, I would leave it. Yeah, that's why I kept my UK company, because I invoice my UK clients still from my UK company, but I can still take dividends from that company. Even though I'm paying like UK corporation tax, I can still pay my dividends. I can still take them out tax free because I'm a Cypriot taxpayer now. So it depends on your circumstances, Mihal. It's if you've got clients that won't have a problem with it, you're probably fine. If you've got loads of IP already attached to that company, not quite sure how the IP would work, but if it's already attached to that company, maybe you give yourself a legal problem, but then you're probably not going to sue yourself. Have you got partners in the business in the UK? I don't know. If it's a one-man band, you're probably fine. It's tricky. I would just say if you've got the opportunity to and you can have a clean slate and start it up here, start it up here. But again, that's my opinion. You're probably better off to talk to an accountant out here and just get their view on it, because there might be a reason why you do keep a UK operation. Maybe there's a reason for keeping a UK base and a Cypriot base. I can't see one personally. Like I say, I'm trying to close down all my UK stuff. I'm not really interested in keeping it that much longer. So I won't keep it any longer than I have to, basically. That's really not very helpful at all, is it? But hopefully it's helpful. I don't know, but yeah, that's my view. It's going to be dependent on your circumstances. Only you know that. I don't know that. But I mean, if you want, an Instagram message and we can have a chat. And if I can point you in the direction of somebody on this side, then happy to do so. Lee, nice tan, buddy. Thanks. I was mentioning this earlier on because, yeah, I was hiking yesterday, and I know not everybody is on at the start and people are dialing at the end. I was hiking yesterday, and I caught the sun. It was cloudy on the way up, and it was sunny on the way down. And my wife said wear a hat, and I didn't. And I'm British, so I didn't put cream on, and this is a result. uh, Lee, yeah, me and Kelly are coming over in October, and we can't wait. Cool. And I can't remember. Are you guys in Paphos again, or are you Protaris? I can't remember which side you come in. Mihal, sorry, I won't keep you any longer. Don't be sorry. That's what I'm here for. I enjoy this as much as anybody. This is what I'm doing. Don't need to apologize at all. I will stay on for as long as people have got questions or until I fall asleep, whichever happens sooner. If you're on out of questions, I'll go. For falling asleep, well, then just log off and that's fine as well. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will be visiting Cyprus in September. Maybe see you then. Cool. Yeah, I mean, like I say, happy to meet up me out. If anybody, if you're coming out and you're coming in September, depending on where you are as well, if we can make diaries align, that'd be cool. And if you are coming in September and the Cyprus Unfiltered group is going, then you'd be more than welcome to join that as well. You can come and meet some of the other people in the chat. Cool. Right. So nothing else is coming through. Got people dropping off now. Got 17 people left. Average view time of 27 minutes. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that. You guys are sitting and watching with intent tonight. So thank you very much. I think that is possibly the longest average view duration. My claim to fame now is that that's longer than an episode of The Simpsons. You guys have watched me longer than an episode of The Simpsons. I think that's cool. Don't know. I like it. I'm happy. If there's anything I can answer, now's your time. Otherwise, I am going to go because I'm not going to keep people hanging around for the sake of it. Lee, Prataris, and then popping over to see you in Paphos midweek. Cool. All right. Thanks very much. Well, yeah, let's see if we can make diaries line. Be good to see you. Alrighty. 21 people online now. People are rejoining. People are coming back on. Guys, I'm going to ask you one last time. I'm going to go to the like and share screen. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, I've been on for 2 hours and 18 minutes just ticking over. So I will call it a night unless anybody's got anything else that they want answering. So feel free to put it in the chat. If not, then I appreciate you all dialing in. Have a cracking week. And for those of you that are going to join me again next week, I will see you next week. And if I don't, then thanks for dialing in. Anyway, where do I get your Instagram? Okay, I'll come back to this. 1 second. Let me show you. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. Instagram is just here. So if you click on my channel and you click on more, oh no. Well, that's a rubbish tutorial, isn't it? I'm giving you my Cyprus Unfiltered page. I thought I put it in the description. Hold that thought. I'm glad you asked. Posts. Click on my, yeah, there you go. Click on my profile, go to posts, and then I put one on here, which was, for anyone wanting to reach me directly, you can now do so via my shiny new Instagram account. That one there. Click on that. I'll tell you what. Copy link address. Let me just stick it in the chat for everybody. That's a long address, isn't it? Is that? Oh no. It's in a YouTube redirect. That's not. Hold on a minute. Tell you what. Let me just do this. 1 second. Bosh. And stick that in there. There you go. It's in the chat, and that's how you also get to it as well. So just for anybody interested, my Instagram account literally does nothing other than give you guys a way of contacting me, and I'll try and get back to you as and when I can. I've got 631 followers, and to be honest, this is just organic, as in there's nothing on there that you won't get on the live stream. Oh, sorry, let me come back to me. There's nothing on there. It's just social media, isn't it? I'm getting drawn into my own freaking page. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. But anyway, you will not see anything on Instagram that you won't see on YouTube, and everything that goes out on Instagram, same with TikTok, so I'm on both. Everything that goes out on Instagram and TikTok is literally a short, automated, AI edited clip of this live stream. So although I don't use AI, and the reason why I go live is because you can fake so much with AI these days, and it's really hard to fake this interaction. It's really hard to fake me talking to you like this. So I'll do this for as long as I can. So I don't use AI in that sense, and I'm not trying to put out an AI version of me, and I'm not trying to pass something off that isn't me. The whole point is I want to connect with people. I want to connect with people like you. So while I'm not using AI for this channel, I do use AI to automatically cut up the recording of this long form live clip, chunk it up into shorts, and it chucks it out to TikTok. It chucks it out into Instagram. Why am I doing that? Well, because people then click through from Instagram or from TikTok back onto this page, and then they get to subscribe to this channel. The whole point is there's nothing that you will see on Instagram that you won't have seen in a live video, that I'm not recording any extra information. What I might start doing is recording some non-live content, but in a vlog type format, because I want to try and do some more stuff on the move. And I've tried to do this with YouTube. I've tried to do this with CETA. And unfortunately, between the two of them, either the CETA signal drops or YouTube doesn't like me being on the move. And then basically I end up talking to myself because the live stream cuts off. And that's crap if you're watching me live and I'm in the middle of talking about something. So because I want to try and do some more stuff out and about, I end up having to do a pre-recorded video. And I can play that to you guys live on a Sunday night, but it does make it very restrictive. Some of the things I'm thinking of doing is I want to try and start interviewing local people and stuff like that. And that in itself is going to be very difficult to do live, but I can do it as a vlog format. But it's going to be very difficult for me to do live. So I will always keep the live on a Sunday night. This is what gets chunked up and edited, put onto Instagram, onto TikTok. But fundamentally, if you're thinking, I need to subscribe to those because you might miss something, you won't. If you're tuning in on a Sunday night, you're going to get everything that I'm putting out is kind of the long and short of it. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful. I don't stop talking, do I? It's now 2 minutes and 2 minutes, 2 hours and 22 minutes. Cool. That's what we've got. So Johnny, thanks. Take care. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. That's in May. So Mark, be nice to buy you a coffee and have a chat before we go back. Yeah, Keith. So when are you and Sarah here till? Because I know we've been catching up a little bit on the chat. How long are you guys here for now? Just remind me. Or you can just ping me. Actually, you've got my details. You just ping me. But yeah, be cool if we can meet up with you and Sarah. Then that'd be really cool. Lee, thanks, Mark. See you next week. Cool. Thank you very much. And me with my link. Cool. Rightio. So I think we will leave it there. There's nothing else coming through. People are dropping off. That's cool. Appreciate everybody dialing in. I'm going to fade out on this bad boy, and I will just say thanks again for tuning in. Much appreciated. If you need anything in the meantime, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I will catch you all next week. Cheers, everybody.